Boom! What is going on, guys? Welcome to the stream. I got bored. This is what this stream is. This is Tigo was bored and wanted to talk Jets with one of his friends, and Adam was also bored, and here we are. Adam Y2K from Wicker. Is it Wicker Sports Media or Wicker Media Sports? NY. Yeah, absolutely, man. Anytime. Arizona Jet in the house, as always. Thank you for stopping by, Arizona Jet. Is my chat not working? Do I have to refresh my chat? I'm going to give it 30 seconds. Yeah, no, I was going to highlight his chat. Yeah, my chat's not working. Let me pop out the chat. Reset. You can't hear his audio. Is he low, or can you not hear him at all? I can see and hear you. You should be speaking.
I don't know. I definitely don't have the mute on, so if you could hear me, I don't know why the chat couldn't hear me. That'd be weird.
They should be able to hear you now. Should be able to.
Arizona's still saying not at all.
Yeah, I fixed it. I messed up. I had you muted. That's on me.
Do I have to redo my whole intro?
A little bit, yeah, actually.
Are you serious right now?
Oh, I just absolutely screwed you. Oh, that's so funny.
Okay. NY Sports Wicker Media. It's right up there. That's my channel. If you haven't been there before, please go there, like, subscribe. I appreciate everybody's support. And like we were saying, Tigo and I, this is only the second time where it's been just him and I. When we agree, we really agree. But when we disagree, we are like complete opposites on subjects. So we have no idea where it's going to go tonight, but we're definitely looking forward to it. And again, thanks for having me on. Arizona, you better have heard that one because I'm not saying that a third time.
There he is. Hey, I don't do this thing with other people very often, and so when I do, I have to work out a lot of the kinks like live because again, I could hear him, but I wasn't piping his audio because your audio wasn't going directly to the stream. Your audio goes directly to my headset, and then my headset gets piped to the stream, and I had my headset muted to the stream because sometimes I like to do this like playing music, and I don't want to get struck by the copyright gods. And like,
oh my gosh, they're everywhere.
Oh, they're everywhere. But so we can talk about this. We could talk about the Senior Bowl. We can talk about whatever, right? Because like I said, I was just bored, and we're just gonna hang out and chat. But the idea is, I have this inkling feeling that Derek Carr is going to be traded or cut tomorrow morning. And here's why. And I need everyone to hear me out. And I'm not saying it's going to be the Jets. I'm not saying anything. I'm not putting anything out there. But what I am going to say is this. $40 million of Derek Carr's contract, as we know, becomes fully guaranteed February 15th. And Arizona Jet beat me to it. He is expected to play tomorrow at the flag football Pro Bowl event. If he stubs his toe and gets any type of injury, that $40 million becomes fully guaranteed. They can't get out of it. Even if they trade him, they have to pay him. They'll pay him the first part of his contract, which is the $34 million, fully guaranteed. And it doesn't matter if they trade him the very next day. Because of the injury, that part of his contract becomes fully guaranteed because of injury. And so if he gets injured in a Pro Bowl event, which is an NFL-sanctioned event where he's going representing the Vegas Raiders, they're liable for his contract. They're liable for his money. And just like Arizona Jet said, they don't want him to get hurt. And technically speaking, he could get hurt. And if you're Derek Carr...
Is it AFC versus NFC?
Yeah.
Okay, so they actually are sticking with that format.
I believe so, yeah. Okay. And so, like, look, I'm not saying it's going to happen. but they can't tell you that you're not in pain. If he does a QB scramble and someone accidentally bumps into him, he could claim that he has some deep tissue hamstring pain, and you can't prove that someone's not in pain. And so, I don't know, Derek Carr's not all too friendly with the Las Vegas Raiders. And the Raiders, I'm just saying, this is galaxy brain, tinfoil hat on. You know, I'm seeing the beams of light coming off in the distance. But hey, I have said crazier things, and they've come to be true.
Oh. My first thought is I would think that the Raiders would actually try to wait up until the absolute last minute to try to get a trade, to get any kind of compensation that they possibly could. I will say this. I could see the point where if it doesn't happen by tomorrow, it's not happening probably until Valentine's Day.
Probably.
I think it would take until that long. The reason why I asked the AFC question versus NFC question is I was wondering if Quinn Williams or CJ Mosley broke through the line and had a free shot at Carr, would they actually take it? I mean, I know it's flag football, but come on, instincts take over. It's like when they just wrap him up in a bear hug and say, "Future teammate, no, I'm going to let you go on this one."
Like,
or I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if there's any Raiders playing like on the defensive line if Crosby's in. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Who really cares? But it'd be interesting to see if Crosby actually would take a shot at Carr.
Like, my thing is this with that situation is, like, I've played flag football, right? And, I'm thinking about getting back into it. And I was a quarterback in high school, and that's, like, what I did. I've got a pretty decent arm.
Okay.
And, like, my main thing was I was a running back at quarterback, right? Like, that's really what it was. I had an average arm, but I was very, very quick, athletic, and I could get to my top speed, which wasn't very fast, but I could get to my top speed almost instantly. I had insane burst. And so I would bait the blitz because I would stay, like, 2 feet from the line of scrimmage in flag football. And so, like, it's one of those things where I would bait it because if someone came and just leaned over, I would take off, right? And I've had situations where someone's going for the flag, they get the flag, but like an arm or a shoulder hits me in the thigh, and they, again, not wanting to, not willing, and they didn't want to hurt me, but they sent me flying. I've had that happen with friends, good friends. You know, I'm just saying, Billy with the I got to get an NFL contract, bro. You and me both.
Hey,
Fully
Billy.
guaranteed for injury. Welcome to the show, Billy. What's up? Say hi.
I'll be the backup long snapper. I'll take that job.
Dude,
let me be the next Let me be Thomas Hennessy's understudy. I would gladly take that job.
You know, the thing that I find is absolutely incredible is the fact that, like, I think I could play quarterback as good as Chris Streveler. I could be a one-read.
Don't tell Tony Alexio.
I could be a one-read and run quarterback because that's exactly what he is. I have it. Dude, you give me 6 months so I can get back into Navy shape. Give me 6 months to get back into Navy shape. I'll shed off about 10 pounds, right? And put on and get my muscles going again. I could do that. I could beat Chris Streveler. You know how much Streveler makes? Like $600K a year to be a practice squad quarterback. I could do that.
He got a little bit more money because he was on the main roster for part of it, though. I got to think that contract had to go up a little bit.
I have no idea. Whatever it is, it's under $1 million, and whatever it is, it's still an insane. I think I'm as good as Streveler. Come on.
I mean, I'm confident if you had Uzama as open as he did versus Jacksonville, Uzama would not have had to go all out to dive to make that catch and immediately be touched by a Jacksonville defender. We would have had 6 points.
I'm just saying, like, I could do it. Again, I was accurate. Look, Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore's deep ability eliminated immediately. I don't have the deep ball. But you give me 2 crossers up the middle, I can pick. I've played enough Madden. I played football in college. I played football in high school, and the guy that lined up on the other side of me, and fun fact, ended my high school football career, is in the NFL right now. It's middle linebacker Matt Milano. That is a true fact. We went to the same high school. He's the reason I don't play football anymore. He took my head off, and that's not a figure of speech. He literally took my helmet off.
And he hasn't stopped.
No, hasn't. Went to Boston.
Legally or illegally. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
He just keeps getting better and better. My God, I never knew that was true. Wow.
And I can say this. I got folded by Matt Milano. I got up and finished practice and then retired. Mike White, his little girl, broke a couple of ribs. All I'm saying. Also, it was high school Matt Milano versus grown man Matt Milano, but I can say that.
He was probably running a little bit faster, a little bit harder.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but you talked about the possibility of injury in the Pro Bowl, and I got a question. Do you remember the story of Robert Edwards?
No.
Okay, so Edwards was chosen by the Patriots as a running back, first round in '98, after the Jets had signed away Curtis Martin. So in his rookie season, 1998, he ran for 1,115 yards. That offseason, he got invited to the Pro Bowl, and he played in a rookie flag football game, and he blew out his knee. That really happened. He almost had to have his leg amputated below the knee.
Jesus.
He didn't come back to football till 2002, and he played with the Dolphins. 4 years out, and he was able to play for, and that was his last year in the NFL. Then he went to Montreal and the Alouettes. He went to
wow.
To a town that worships hockey and smoked beef sandwiches. That Montreal beef, but. Just a thing as simple as the Pro Bowl game, blowing out his knee, where it can happen in flag football. It derailed what could have been a very promising career. And hey, you know football and you know it well. And the fact that I had to explain who Robert Edwards was to you, that speaks volumes about how things fell for him.
Yeah. It's like I'm saying, it's a difficult. Let's power through some of these comments, but it's one of those things where do you take that risk, knowing that Derek Carr absolutely hates you and your organization? You can't prove pain, and we're gonna get to one of Billy's comments where I was talking about that. He said, "I'm sure the Raiders would have 9,985,221 doctors check that injury out. They could have 10 billion doctors check the injury out. No doctor or medical science can prove that you're not in pain. Everybody, we still don't fully understand the brain, and you can trick yourself into thinking that you're in pain and get those readings on an MRI or a CAT scan or whatever it is. That's a real thing, because let's be honest, every NFL player is walking hurt. I've never heard of a healthy NFL player. It doesn't exist. Everybody's walking around with something. So you can't disprove pain. Arizona Jet, Carr did it on purpose. I would believe so. Jets mess in the house. Hello, boys. What's going on, Jets mess?
Hey, mess. But I just love that Carr's got like a sack on him that we didn't know about. I mean, he's willing to talk. He's willing to speak his mind. It feels like the biggest criticisms of Carr have been he's never won a playoff game. That was one game, by the way. And believe me, he would have won more back a couple years ago when he was in the running to be MVP. The Raiders would have killed Houston in that first game, that first playoff game. And instead they had to play I almost said Matt McGloin, but Matt McGloin, I believe his name was. Okay, so he would have won a couple of playoff games that year. They talk about the cold, or I think the more you play in the cold, the more you get used to it and the better you get at it.
But also the cold thing, isn't it like an insanely small sample size? Isn't it like 5 winter games?
It is pretty small. But the other thing that I think people talk about is is he made for New York? And to me, that's always a very tricky thing to say, because if you look at the Manning brothers, Archie Manning said this. Eli was made for New York and Peyton wasn't. And as shy as Eli appeared to be for as long as he was, and as long as it took for him to figure it out, it took him about 4 years before he really became good and the Giants won that Super Bowl. He was never the best Sunday quarterback. He was never his brother. Peyton, to me, is the best Sunday to Sunday quarterback in the history of the league. I don't even think that can be debated. Him or Rodgers, but I would say Manning might have the slight edge.
Yeah, I think it's Manning.
Yeah, for me, it's definitely
the best thrower of the football, like the best overall quarterback, like in the sense of like the things that we measure quarterbacks to do. I think it's Peyton Manning. He was a leader. He had an insane arm. He was athletic when he needed to be. He commanded an offense. He did all of the things, and the AFC was just a gauntlet that he couldn't get through to get to the playoffs. The real thing is like, while he is the best, he also did have his career stopped by what I like to call, he was surgical, is what Tom Brady was. He was never the best quarterback ever in his career. At no point in time was he the best thrower of the football, maybe in the beginning he was the smartest quarterback because I thought Peyton was smarter. He was just surgical. Brady didn't make mistakes. And that's it. And in the last 2 minutes where you're trying to force a quarterback to make a mistake, Brady, more often than not, didn't. And that's what happened. And he won 7 Super Bowls, and that's fine. But yeah, I don't disagree. I think it is him. Some guy says, "What's up?"
Yeah, but the point is, with that whole thing, Eli didn't seem to have that outgoing nature that we think a quarterback has to have. So I think we should apply that same principle here with Derek Carr. And the fact that we did see that outgoing nature, his willingness to be honest, and that sort of like, yeah, I've heard it, but I've heard the criticism, and this is what I'm doing, and I'm not afraid to say it. That endeared him to me a little bit more. And I've been in favor of bringing Carr in ever since the rumor began. But now I'm even more on board, to be honest with you, because he said, yeah, I'm gone. I want a new start. I think he now feels he has something to prove. He always thought he would be a Raider, even up until very recently. And this, to me, could be the Matthew Stafford story sequel.
Yep.
It is completely fair. You want to tell me Carr's arm isn't quite as elite as Stafford? Okay. But maybe some people would say that. But outside of that, even if that is true, it feels like you have 2 careers that are running pretty much parallel. Good, solid quarterbacks, not winning playoff games, but never had the right supporting cast. And I still think that Carr was limited last year without Darren Waller. I still think that took a lot out. Plus, you had a horrible coach, and the defense was incredibly disappointing last season, which they blew so many leads last year, the Raiders did.
Yeah.
So many leads.
Sounds like a head coaching problem, not a quarterback problem. And it's one of those things where here's the biggest thing to say when it comes to Derek Carr. While I understand the sentiment and what you're saying about Carr's career running parallel to Stafford's, while I can agree with what you're saying, I still think that Matthew Stafford is the better quarterback. Fundamentally, arm strength, everything like that. I think a great example of it would be, I always thought that Matt Stafford was a top 8 quarterback in the NFL, where I think Derek Carr is a top 12 quarterback in the NFL. At any given point in time, Matthew Stafford at any point in his career was 1 to 8, right? Where Derek Carr, any point in time of his career, was anywhere from 1 to 12. Now, that's not saying that there wasn't seasons where Matthew Stafford wasn't 8. Vervain, thank you for subscribing. Appreciate you. That's not saying that he wasn't, 8 or 2 or 6 or whatever. He jumped up and down, but he never fell below 8, or the same thing with Derek Carr. And here's the thing that I think people fail to understand, is that the New York Jets, I have looked at all 31 rosters on the NFL, not named the New York Jets. And I've done deep dives on these players for a series that I'm going to be doing called the Mock Offseason. It's starting the day after the Super Bowl, where we're going to do a mock offseason for all 32 teams. Draft, free agency, the whole 9. And the way that I'm doing it is I want to make sure that no players overlap, so I don't sign Alan Lazard to both like the New York Jets and the Chicago Bears and to the same, you know what I mean? It's a big project that I am undertaking, and I'm very excited for it. And I've looked at all of the teams that could be quarterback needy. And by quarterback needy, I went under the assumption of this team might want to refresh their quarterback. Of the 16 teams that I came up with, and yeah, it was 16 names, the team that was closest to a Super Bowl was the New York Jets.
Wow.
The New York Jets are 1, maybe 2, if we don't keep Connor McGovern, 1 or 2 players away from a Super Bowl.
Did you factor San Francisco in as part of that 16?
Yep.
Wow.
Well, no, because I don't think they're quarterback needy.
Okay.
They're going to run it. I didn't think they were quarterback needy at all. I think that they have every incentive in the world to run it back with Trey Lance and Brock Purdy competing with one another because they're both on absolutely nothing contracts. So, no, I didn't consist of San Francisco. San Francisco would immediately become the best team.
Yes.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
But I didn't count them because I think there's no incentive for them to bring somebody in. Brock Purdy won 6 games. 7 games? 6 games, and only lost the last one because of a UCL tear. I think they would have beaten the Eagles if he was in.
I think Philadelphia still would have won, but it would have been very competitive. It would have been a whole lot closer, obviously, than it wound up being. And then Josh Johnson gets hurt, and he's taken out. I actually just looked up Derek Carr versus Matthew Stafford career stats just to see how far off it is. Now, of course, Stafford entered the league in 2009, Carr in 2014. But you can make some interesting comparisons. Completion percentage for career, Carr at 64.6, Stafford at 63.2. So slight edge to Carr. But if you go per game, Stafford's averaging 1.7 touchdowns per game, Carr 1.5. Interceptions, Stafford at 0.9 per game, Carr at 0.7. Yards per game, Stafford at 272, Carr at 248. So, I mean, you see some slight differences, but nothing overly drastic. So, to me, their resumes they look pretty similar in a lot of ways, with their career stats up to this point. So, I think you can really make that comparison.
You absolutely can. It's one of those things where like the box score doesn't tell the whole story, right? Yeah. Like that's one of those things. But no. What I was leading to is people tend to fail to recognize that the New York Jets don't need a top 3, top 5 quarterback to win the Super Bowl.
Correct.
Because rarely do we see that. You don't need that. You just need a guy who's going to get 21 points. Can Derek Carr get you 21 points a game?
I definitely believe so. Especially if you factor in that running game with the
wide receivers that we have, a fixed offensive line.
Just upgrade 2 spots at offensive line. I mean, 3 would be great, but 2 I think is realistic.
You only need to upgrade 2. No. You really only need to upgrade 1, which is tackle. And it's not even tackle. It's upgrade tackle health. If there's an injection that you can give to these guys to make sure that they don't break at the offensive on the tackle position, where our tackle room is elite right now. The problem is that they can't stay healthy.
Well, let's think about it. So we know Fant is gone.
Yep.
Mitchell is still developing. I know you love Mitchell, and I like what Mitchell could potentially.
Not even counting him as the starting tackle.
Yeah, you can't at this point. So really, you're looking at Becton. Now, are you looking at AVT at this point as a tackle, a guard, or to be determined?
I'm looking at him as a right tackle.
Okay. So then a guard.
And Mitchell bumps in inside to play guard.
You want Mitchell in a guard? See, that's something I have not heard about.
I'm not saying. I'm saying if we look at our offensive line and the guys that we can bring in, if we didn't sign anybody, let's just say we keep the guys that we have.
Okay.
Right? And we want to put the best 5 guys out there. The best left tackle on the roster is Mekhi Becton.
Yes.
When Mekhi Becton is healthy, he is the best tackle on the roster. He is a top 10 tackle in the NFL.
With you.
Boom. Laken Tomlinson will be the left guard unless someone wins the right tackle job from Elijah Vera Tucker. Because if Elijah Vera Tucker doesn't win a tackle spot, he's going to left guard. Right?
I think he'd be going to right guard. I don't think they're moving Tomlinson out of left guard.
You move. It's a new offensive coordinator who has no love or loyalty to Laken Tomlinson. He's gonna put the best player next to the offensive tackle, and Elijah Vera Tucker and Mekhi Becton on the left side for Nathaniel Hackett's run game is going to be elite. So there's no love or loyalty because Hackett wasn't in San Francisco. Mike LaFleur kept Laken Tomlinson at left guard all year, despite the fact that he did not earn or deserve to be the left guard, not left tackle, spot all year. And he did it because of the loyalty and the commitment that he had to him because all of the years in San Francisco. Nathaniel Hackett, and more importantly, Keith Carter don't have that loyalty. They don't care that Laken Tomlinson is Laken Tomlinson. They don't care that he's going to be at this point 2 years removed from a Pro Bowl. They will move Laken Tomlinson to the right side unless he earns that job. And
Laken Tomlinson never played right guard in the pros.
Doesn't matter. They would move him. Elijah Vera Tucker is infinitely better. And if you can combo a top 10 tackle with a top 10 guard on the left side, you do it. Because then you hand the ball off to the left 8 out of 7 times. And you run that to the house. And so, like I'm saying, besides the point, right? You go Makai on the left, AVT on the right, and I'm saying this because none of the guys in the first round, if let's say we keep 13 and we draft any of the first round tackles, none of those guys will beat out a healthy Mekhi Becton or an Elijah Vera Tucker. They're not as good as either one of those guys. And that's why for me at 13, it's Peter Skoronski or bust. Because what happens if Mekhi Becton is healthy, wins the left tackle job. Elijah Vera Tucker is healthy, wins the right tackle job. Laken Tomlinson at that point in time is the best guard on the football team. He goes to the left guard. Who's going to play right guard? And who's going to play center? Now, let's just say you draft a John Michael Schmitz, a Cody Mock, the Olusegun Oluwatimi out of Michigan, whatever it is.
Dom is very down on, but yeah, Luke Woodward, Ricky Stromberg, all these guys. It's
Jordan,
not very deep
Garrett,
on IOL this draft. It's really not deep.
Jarrett Patterson, whoever it is. Yeah. And then you say you have to start. John Michael Schmitz, how did I forget him? Whatever. And you say you have to start. That's fine. The hole on the roster is still what? Right guard. Now, you could say, hey, you know what? Bring back Nate Herbig. I'm cool with that. You could say, you know what? Bump in Max Mitchell because he played guard at college, and he did it relatively well. You could say, screw both of that. We're just going to draft a guard, and you can get let's say you don't go John Michael Schmitz and you go Avila in the second round. Boom, he can play right guard. There's all of these things where you're like, you know what? That's an elite offensive line. And so this is why I like Peter Skoronski, because Peter Skoronski comes in immediately and you say, you know what? What happens if Mekhi Becton wins the job at left tackle? Laken Tomlinson moves to right guard. Elijah Vera Tucker is the left guard. Max Mitchell develops insanely well this offseason. He wins the right tackle spot. And now you're looking at your four guys, and now you just drafted Broderick Jones. Where's Broderick Jones going to play? He can't play center.
No, he's a tackle.
He's a tackle through and through. What happens if you draft Paris Johnson Jr.? Same thing. He's a tackle through and through. Now, if you draft Peter Skoronski, you put Peter Skoronski as center. That's what he was sent to Northwestern to be, right? So that's what we're gonna do there. Let's power through some of these comments.
Yeah,
we gotta catch up.
Yeah, then I'll say something about Carr. Go ahead.
Carr is forcing their hands for sure. Totally agree. Arizona Jet. Even a kicker. This is when we were talking about the taking backup jobs in the NFL. With all the crazy NFL contracts, we forget how those salaries compare to the salaries of average people. Exactly. Hey, I hated Matt Milano too. A top brain surgeon in the world might make $1 million a year. You're not wrong.
And we got more job security than you do in the NFL, that's for sure.
Yeah. I'll trick the hell out of myself for $34 million. Chode Uglas, thanks for stopping by. I've always liked Carr. He gets an unfair rap because of the Raiders' dysfunction. Wouldn't be mad at all if he wound up a Jet. I am right on there with you, man. Like I'm
Absolutely.
In the same boat.
It's like it's Rodgers, Carr, and then everybody else.
Yep.
I mean, to different levels, but the gap between 2 and 3 is immense.
Carr plays against Denver 2 times a year. It's cold in Denver. Look at his numbers in the cold. What a joke of a cold games stat. This is a deal breaker. Come on, let's be smarter. Exactly. Like it's
I mean, what's the perfect quarterback that we could realistically get? Anybody you have is going to have blemishes. That's just part of it. I just want the pros to outweigh the cons, and with Derek Carr, to me, the pros absolutely do outweigh the cons.
Yep. Billy SBC, watching Peyton Manning on TV review some games with Eli and the intensity of that guy, even watching football, was incredible. Dude, he'd
still be playing if he could.
Yeah.
It probably kills him that Brady played longer than he did. Yeah. I guarantee it does.
It was just a stupid neck. He exudes that, and like, when he walks into the room, you know how a lot of people think they're the smartest guy? No, Peyton is. Any football room that he walks into, he's the smartest guy in the room.
I wish Peyton got that contract with Fox. Please, when Fox is going to be on next year, I'm going to be muting the TV, with all due respect to Kevin Burkhardt. I don't need to hear, Brady's stuck-up self making his $30 million a year, which he doesn't need, maybe except for alimony and child support, by the way.
He's going to be getting alimony and child support. Giselle made more money than him.
It's amazing. But to me, God, I wish Peyton could have had that spot because, man, he would have fit in so well.
Yeah.
So well.
The CBS broadcast next year is actually going to be a lot better because of Matt Ryan. A lot of people don't talk, but Matt Ryan's going to retire and he's going to join the CBS halftime show. Like those guys with like Boomer and Nate and all those guys, and that's really he came off as a really good TV personality, like someone who talked the game really intelligently. I really like that. Matthew Smith, let's trade for Nick Bosa. Tell me why San Francisco would do it, but I'm on board. Are we saying Stafford was a top 5 QB last season, the Super Bowl season? Probably.
I don't know if I would say top 5. I would definitely top 7 to 8. I would definitely give it that.
Were there 5 quarterbacks better than him in his Super Bowl winning year?
Behind Mahomes, Burrow, Herbert.
Was Herbert better?
Allen.
I'll give you Allen.
Allen probably was. I mean,
I don't know about Herbert.
Now I don't know if Brady was. I don't know if I can give him.
I don't know about Brady either.
I don't know about that one.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, he might be 5.
Definitely not doing Cincinnati, Cleveland, Pittsburgh. I'm just kind of running through all the teams in my mind.
Like, worst case scenario, what, he's 6? Like, worst case scenario, he's 6? If you take Herbert over Stafford, I get it. I might not agree with that year. Like, he might be 6.
I don't think Rodgers was as good as Stafford last year. I don't think. I mean, well, A-Rod was still good.
Oh wait, no, that was the Rodgers Super Bowl year, the MVP year.
Right. 2020 was his MVP when he absolutely tore the league up. He won in 2020. I don't know. Did he win it in 2021? Did he win it 2 years ago? Because if he did, then absolutely.
Remember, he's only 1 year removed. Last year, Rodgers is there. So you're probably right. Top 8,
right around 5, 6. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it's still right. It's still in that thing. And Brady shouldn't have won MVP.
No, my God.
Dude. Look, Matthew Smith. I get what you're saying, but you have to look at the context. Does Jalen Hurts deserve the MVP this year? Absolutely not. He is not the most valuable player. We got to stop saying the quarterback on the best team, because that's not what the award is. The award is who is the most valuable player to their team. Whose team
Brady was not a top 3 quarterback last year. Stop it with Brady. We're not going by name value here. We're going by performance. He was not on that level.
He was definitely in that top 8, top 5 conversation, but it's not that hard to be that good when Leonard Fournette is rushing for 1,200 yards and you have 1,500 yards receiver, one of the best offensive lines in football, and it's all working. It's the same argument that I use with Jalen Hurts this year. Of course he got better. They fixed their offensive line. They fixed the rushing game. He's throwing to A.J. Brown, a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL now, instead of to the toothpick that is the other kid that I forget out of Alabama.
What, Jalen Reagor? Not that one.
No, the other one.
But Reagor for a bit, but oh shoot, the guy with 3 names.
Oh man, I forget his name. You got it. He's like 92 pounds, soaking wet, carrying 6 teammates' pads. I forget what his name is.
In any event, but yeah, their running game took a major step back forward. Like, Miles Sanders, to me, was like the biggest fantasy bust for me the last 2 years. When he came back this year as well as he did, that was one of the more surprising, seasons that I saw from any player this year. So, definite credit to Miles Sanders. No doubt about that one.
Billy SBC, hit the like, guys. SBC. Yeah, do it, guys. We got 22 people up in here. We only got 10 likes. Hit the like button. Devonta Smith, thank you, Arizona Jet.
Oh, you were talking about a player on the team. I thought you were talking about...
No. I was talking about, Devonta Smith. He's 92 pounds, soaking wet, carrying all of his teammates' pads.
And by the way, not a catch. Good job, NFL replay.
Do you believe that Aaron Rodgers' deal is already done? I feel like it is. If it was already done, it would have been done. It would have been leaked. Why wouldn't they just do it?
It can't become official for a while, but Rappaport, Schefter, Pelissero... one of the 3 would have leaked the news out.
Why can't it be official yet?
Because the league year has to start.
Oh yeah, we have to wait till March 15th.
And also, the cap hit is a lot less after June 1st for Green Bay.
You can designate a
but you
trade.
can arrange it right where it doesn't become official till later.
Yeah, you can designate trades as opposed to June 1st so that you don't have to wait. Because what if he changes his mind? What if something... Yeah, so you process the trade, you put a post June 1st. It's funny because I think Green Bay is going to use a post June 1st designation on two players. On an Aaron Rodgers trade to the New York Jets and on the cut and eventual release of Bakhtiari. And I think Bakhtiari's probably coming to the Jets. And so I think that's... I think that's going to be a fun little situation because it's just like both of their post June 1st designations are both going to end up on the Jets.
I'm like, if he's Dwayne Brown's replacement, God bless him.
Yeah, that's what he is.
That's all that would be. He can have an opportunity to start, but you know what? If it's Bakhtiari at left tackle, if he's healthy, and then Becton at right tackle, where do I sign up for that?
It's like absolutely. Ooh. And with the rumor that MetLife might be going to a grass field for the World Cup, that they might have to change it over. MetLife wants to host the World Cup games, right? And they can't because FIFA has very, very stringent rules that it has to be natural grass.
But they're getting new turf this year already, so then they would rip that out and put the grass in.
But what I'm saying is if they're going to get they were supposed to get new turf this year, right?
Okay.
Maybe they pivot. The rumor is that they might pivot so that we get a soccer game in New York, which is a major city, so that they could get World Cup games because the World Cup is going to draw in a bunch of money. And so there's that floating around. That's out there.
Isn't that cute how the World Cup final could totally alter the situation of two NFL football teams? Isn't that
not the final?
Think about it.
Not the final. The final's going to happen in SoFi. We already know that.
So I'm looking at CBS Sports. MetLife is one. Okay. MetLife will change playing surfaces for the 2023 season following the NFLPA's recent letter calling for an immediate ban of slit film turf. So MetLife is one of 6 stadiums using the slit film turf.
Yeah.
So that is that is the type of turf that is ruining lives and ruining knees.
And careers.
So this is will happen. Yes.
But that's the thing, right? They were going to go from this slit film turf to a different type of turf. But now they might pivot to natural grass because of the World Cup. Because if New York can host 4 or 5 games in the World Cup, that much revenue is an insane amount of money for the owners of MetLife. Like, that's more money. 5 or 6 games is more money than an entire NFL season. Like, and so they're not going to give that up. And the fact that they would also still keep the New York Jets around, the Giants around. Like, we're not going anywhere. As much as people want to think, oh, our lease is up, we should move. We're not moving. There's no point to move. The system and the deal that we've got in Florham Park right now, dude, the airport is 6 or 7 minutes away. Did you know that?
And the practice facility, well, without traffic, but
no. I'm saying the private airport. It's 5 minutes away. It's up the road.
Oh, yeah.
It's insane.
It doesn't make any sense, I'm sorry, to have the practice facilities in New Jersey, but then play your games in Queens or on Long Island. It just doesn't. Feasibly, it doesn't make sense. I'm sorry. There's not going to be a perfect location. I mean, the fact is, I think any hope for it pretty much died when NYCFC announced the soccer stadium near Citi Field. The only chance I felt was in Queens. But again, to build a stadium like that, when you have MetLife Stadium already, we have the New York metropolitan area has like 4 or 5 arenas. Way more than 5, 6 arenas. You have 2 in Jersey. You got the Garden. You got 2 on Long Island. It's ridiculous how many arenas they have. They don't need a second stadium, plus 2 baseball stadiums. They don't need 2 football stadiums. I want the Jets to have their own stadium for sure, but it doesn't make economic sense. It just doesn't make sense.
As long as the Johnsons are owners, it literally makes no sense because they spent all of this money building what is an incredible facility in Florham Park.
They did.
An incredible facility.
Very well.
And so that would be the only thing that would happen is if they moved the team upstate. And I mean not that far upstate, but I mean but then you're alienating your fan base. Right? Because then the fan base is Queens, Long Island, those are the Jets. And you're not going to put a stadium in Queens or in Long Island, then just keep it in Jersey.
They may as well. I mean, the best thing we can hope for is that they knock down MetLife at some point and build a better stadium.
Yep.
That's all there is.
You can upgrade stadiums. That's a thing.
And I got to be honest, when the Jets are good again one day, when they're winning a division title, when they're hosting playoff games again, I think the atmosphere and the energy will be. You know what? I was actually watching because I had way too much time on my hands. I went on YouTube and I started watching the Jets-Chiefs playoff game from 1986. I've never watched this game, and right now I'm through about 2.5 quarters. And you know what struck me more than anything was the fans. They were breaking out into JETS, Jets chants on first downs. It feels like the only time you hear the chant now is like during a kickoff.
Yep.
And it's not going to be cued. The timing isn't quite right. It's not in sync. I was amazed how organic it was, how energetic it was. And, you know, I got to believe that when we have huge games again at home, if we one day again win a freaking division and have a whole playoff game, I got to think that energy is going to be back. And I want to hear those, you know, have the home field advantage, reestablish home field. And it's so much harder to do now with the PSLs and all this crap. It's so much harder to do that, but that is something that we're really missing. But we don't know how much of a loss it really is right now because the team has been losers for as long as they've been.
The thing is that no one goes into any given Sunday fully believing in the football team. And that's the reality of the situation. Any given Sunday I went in this week, the Jets should win, but probably won't. That was my thought process. Every single Sunday. I wholeheartedly believe that this team should win this game. We are the better roster on paper. Every single game, I thought that. And more often than not, I was right. We should have won that game and we lost it. We should have won this game and we lost it. We should have won this game and we lost it. And so it's one of those things where it's just like, you get the crowd. Like, if Derek Carr comes to this team, we're a playoff team, probably Super Bowl bound, honestly. You're telling me after 7 or 8 wins in a row, or 7 of 8 wins, that stadium isn't going to be rocking?
Oh, yeah, and then you have opposing teams fans. They don't want to come here as much because they know that they got a hell of a fight, that they've got an uphill battle. I mean,
the Jets
teams fans, shoot. I mean, the Cowboy fans, the Chief fans, it's like 50% the other team. When Pittsburgh comes in, when Green Bay comes in, hell, now when Buffalo comes in, half the crowd is blue.
Yep.
Come on. We're supposed to be taking other stadiums over.
But that's the thing, right? Like, imagine when this team is actually good. Imagine when Rodgers comes in and we're playing Sunday Night Football 7 or 8 times a year.
Not just good, but respected.
Yeah.
You know, when I did my off-season predictions, that was one of my predictions. I said for the first time since the freaking butt fumble game, the Jets will have a game on NBC this season. And I believe that is the last time we were on NBC. Can you believe that's true? It is. And
that's
it
crazy.
It amazes me. The last time we were on Monday Night Football was Sam Darnold's rookie game. I'm pretty sure. I think that was the last time we were on Monday Night Football. Was when Darnold lit up the Lions.
Wow.
I know.
Wait, that was a Thursday Night Football game last year. Wow, that's insane.
Yeah, Thursday night Jacksonville.
Yep.
I mean, we don't get on these networks.
No.
You know?
And this year, the one year we had the opportunity, they protected our game because they wanted to keep it.
And I've been wondering more and more, why does the schedule have to wait so long to come out? And I believe it's for this reason. They let the offseason happen. They let the draft happen. So they have a better idea of what these teams are going to look like. And then we'll be like, okay, now we know what we want to do. Now we know the games that we want to have.
Absolutely. You have to,
that's what it all comes down to.
Look how many Broncos games had to get bumped because they thought the Broncos,
God.
but you know what I'm saying? They thought the Broncos were going to be good. Everyone thought the Broncos were going to be good.
Oh my God. NBC stood for National Broncos Company.
Yeah.
That's what that stood for.
Because who would have guessed that they were going to be bad?
Oh, I thought they'd be in the mix. I thought they'd be like a 500-ish team. I never thought they were going to go into the 10.
And collapse? That's what I'm saying.
We all thought the AFC West was like 1 through 4, maybe the best or second best division in football.
Yeah.
Well, 1-2 didn't turn out too badly.
Yeah. Chode Oogles, what if these guys were all underperforming on the line because of LaFleur and his staff that were that incompetent and Hackett gets more results with the current guys? No. This is realistic. Our offensive staff has taken a massive step forward, especially with the hiring of Anthony?
Keith Carter.
Keith Carter. Why did I think his name was
Keith
Anthony?
Carter. Oh,
Because of the
Anthony
hire
Carter
of
was
Keith
more
Carter.
obscure, yeah.
You know, he is almost more important of a signing than Nathaniel Hackett. Because this offensive line is going to get fixed. He's that good.
He's the bad guy. You know, in a room full of, I think, players coach, because Salah's a players coach, Salah's the quote-unquote, he comes across as the nice guy. Carter brings a little bit of the a-hole to the locker room.
He doesn't care about your feelings.
The Jets need a little bit of a-hole. I mean, Taylor Lewan, who's not my favorite person in the world right now because of the way he basically kissed Brady's overrated ass, but that's another story. He was on his podcast. He does a podcast, which nobody outside of Nashville knew about.
I love his podcast. I listen to it every week.
Yeah, but he was doing his podcast, and the news broke during the podcast that Carter had been fired from Tennessee, and he basically laughed. And he basically said in no uncertain words, well, he got better, but he was a little bit of a dictator. He was a little bit of a jerk. And so he really, that's what he was talking about. And I think that's the kind of coach that could do wonders for Mekhi Becton, for Laken Tomlinson. I think they could use that extra kick in the pants. Now, we're not saying that John Benton didn't do that. We don't know what his coaching style was. But, they couldn't figure out that offensive line once, a couple of those tackles went down.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'll give Tomlinson credit for one thing. He played. I got to give him that.
Every game.
He played. They were there.
Every game.
For this offensive line, that means something.
Yep. So, especially in a year where we struggled with health.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Just ridiculous. And man, Vera Tucker, my gosh, what a beast. It gets scary when you got to use your right side of the offensive line is Dan Feeney and Cedric O. Oh my gosh. Was there a worse combination at right guard and right tackle like in all of football? And I'm including the Canadian Football League when I say that.
It's funny because I think Cedric Ogbehe's back on the team next year.
Somebody's got to be.
If
he's cheap, if he's like the fourth tackle on the team, God bless him. He can be on the practice squad.
Yep.
But Becton, Mitchell, and then whoever else, and then whoever the draft pick is. But the guard class at free agency is not exactly what I would call impressive either. I mean,
but there's a lot of guys that are classified as tackles that could play guard. Like Andre Dillard is one of those guys.
Dillard's one of those guys.
He's a tackle, but you could sign him to be a guard.
Yeah, it was Isaac from Philadelphia. He's one, but it's like, Nick Gates from the Giants is like one of the top paid. Justin Pugh, he's like the highest paid guard this past year who's going to free agents. It's not exactly a stellar list of options that are hitting the market either in the draft or in free agency. In my opinion.
The real thing too is like we don't necessarily need the offensive line isn't that far away. People are like, oh my gosh, the offensive line is abysmal, and it's look, yeah. We need to work on the offensive line. I'm not saying we don't need to. But, like we're not the Bengals. The Bengals need, 4 offensive linemen? You know what I mean? Like, we're one healthy Mekhi Becton and a center away from being competitive on the offensive line.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Vera Tucker coming back.
Nope.
Triceps injury, I have no worries about that.
Me neither.
Now, my question, so you would let McGovern go? Is that fair to say?
Oh, yeah. Here's the thing, right? Depends on who's right. Who do you think is right? Because Spotrac has McGovern's possible contract being 3 years, $39 million. That is $13 million a year. Nah, you're good. Go to Houston.
I thought $9 million a year for Quincy Williams was hard to swallow. That one I just choked on my lunch.
Nope, but he's the best center in this free agent class, but hands down.
Who's next? Garrett Bradbury?
Yes,
that's probably second. Yep.
Yes, no, he is. So what I'm saying is, if he's asking for 13, he can go to Houston. Houston will give him 13. Houston would happily give him 13 and go enjoy playing on a bad football team again. That's it. Now, PFF, who's everybody's favorite website for everything related football, they can do no wrong. They have his potential contract at 3 years, $22.5 million. So that's 3 years, it's 3 years, $7.7 million per.
Is McGovern's agent running Spot Track?
But what I'm saying is either one could be true. If you look at production and the level of production, he's a $8 million center. At 8.7, $8 million, I'll keep McGovern. But the problem is that he is the best center available, and the New York Jets aren't the only team that need a center.
And that might be why Spot Track has such an inflated estimated
Exactly, like
value
the number of his thing is inflated because he's the best. And so it's going to put some wrenches in some things. It's a real conversation to have. So while Arizona Jets talking about this, we need to draft a center. Our O-line can be good this year, but we just need to stay healthy. We legitimately might just leave center open for the draft. You bring back Nate Herbig, who can play center, right? You give him a $3 million deal, and you say, Nate Herbig, right now you're our starting center. And then you hope that you get a John Michael Smith. You hope that you get a Cody Mock. You hope that you get a Jarrett Patterson. You hope that you get Oluwatimi I forget his name.
Double O.
Yeah.
Double O from Michigan.
I forget. It's Olusegun is his first name. Oluwatimi is his last name. Whatever. Not important. You get one of these guys, and then you hope that they can start immediately. Because for me, there's only two starters. Day one, they're starting, and that's Whippler and that's JMS. Because I always forget about Whippler because he wasn't at the Senior Bowl. But
I would go with that.
Whippler out of Ohio State, I believe, is what it is. It's one of the O schools.
It's Ohio State.
Yeah.
And JMS is
Minnesota.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
they can
with
both
free
come in and
agents-
start immediately.
Yeah, and with free agents, you also have Bradley Bozeman. You have John Feliciano. You have Rodney Hudson, who's like, 45 at this point?
I think he's 68.
About. In NFL years, he's
Yeah,
68.
yeah.
That's actually correct, yeah.
It's just one of those things where it's just like, that's what it is.
It's, that interior offensive line, it is kind of limited, and that might be one reason why they want to put AVT back at guard, because they think they have a better chance of getting a tackle than they do a guard, or, to me, that's one reason why he might be back at guard.
Have you seen or watched the show The Rookie at all? It's a show about LAPD cops.
I've
With
heard
Fillion?
of it. The rookie I've watched was the movie about Jim Morris, the Tampa Bay Rays pitcher.
Yeah, no. So
Not that
in this show, there's one of these things they call it's a golden ticket, right? If you do something incredible for the LAPD, they give you a golden ticket. And that's basically you get to pick any assignment, any department, any job, and the LAPD will pay for the training, the whatever it is that you want for you to get that job, right? And
Sounds like
after
America's Got Talent.
and after last year and what Elijah Vera Tucker did for this offensive line, I would give him the golden ticket. I would tell him, I said, we want you at guard, but where do you want to compete at? You have to. And he's going to say tackle. And you have to let him compete at tackle. He earned that right by playing 4 spots on the offensive line. He earned the right.
Yeah, you got to be careful how much power you give a player.
No.
Got to be careful.
I'm not saying you give him the job. You give him the right to compete. And that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Is
you can have the opportunity. You give him the opportunity.
But what I'm saying is...
But you can't say you pick your position.
No.
Okay.
But none of these first-round tackles will be better than Elijah Vera Tucker at tackle. I'm telling you straight up. I've watched every snap of these guys' college careers. While they are incredibly good, none of these guys would have made the first round last year. Not one. Let alone a top 15 pick. Elijah Vera Tucker will be and will play better at right tackle than Peter Skoronski, who I'm in love with, Paris Johnson Jr., Broderick Jones, Anton Harrison, Darnell Wright, DeJuan Jones, all of those guys. They won't beat out Elijah Vera Tucker. And this is why you got to look at a guy who can play multiple positions on the offensive line. This is why I've dialed in on guys like Cody Mock, why I've dialed in on Peter Skoronski, Jarrett Patterson, because these guys can play multiple positions on the offensive line. And that gives you the flexibility of playing your best 5. Because Peter Skoronski can play center, both guards, and or both tackles. He's done it. Cody Mock, at the Senior Bowl played all 5 positions on the offensive line and was voted the national teams or I don't remember which team he was on, but he was voted the player of the week for whatever team he was on because he was willing to do anything and he took snaps everywhere. So you got to look at those guys. Those are the guys that you look at because what if Nate Herbig straight up just wins the center job? Now you got to fill in right guard. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know if they're going to. I think they're not going to. Herbig's not going to. Number one, they have to resign Herbig. 2, does he want to actually be a center? Because if he don't want to be a center, there's plenty of teams that will pay him to be a guard.
Not top dollar. He doesn't make more than $3. He doesn't make more than $3 million.
I think he can get $4 or $5 million on the market.
I don't think so.
Limited market.
He got hurt. Oh, I get what you're saying. I think
he can get some cash.
I don't know. I think he's 1 year away from getting the cash. Realistically, what he should do is go to Houston. He'll be a starting guard in Houston.
Everybody should go to Houston.
No, for real. But if he goes to Houston on a 1 year deal, 1 year for $3 million deal, he'll start at right guard, and if he plays really, really well, he can go get a long-term contract at $6 or $7 million.
You don't see as many prove-it deals. Prove-it deals feel a little bit more like something you'll see like in baseball and whatnot. I feel like you don't see them quite as often in the NFL because you only have so much of a window. And the fact is, I mean, he was a waiver claim.
Yep.
Herbig was. I mean, he got plucked. He got the opportunity. He took the job and did it really, really well when the Jets had to shuffle things around. And I feel like he got hurt even before he went out because his play started to slip.
Yep.
And to me, this is
his play started to slip. I think it wasn't because of his play. It was because of the offensive line around him. Like, I'm not sitting here going to sit here and try to defend him 100%, but, like, that's what I'm saying. I don't think Nate Herbig has that big of a market out there. That's what I'm saying. I don't think he has that big of a market. I think he's back on the Jets at probably, like, $2.5–3 million, which is what he was making this year. Let's power through these comments and catch up because there's a lot of good things to talk about, and I want to catch up. All I know is that paramedics/EMTs that save Hamlin's life make like $100K a year. That is absolutely not true. They are making nowhere near that money.
They're not. I know this. I work at a medical college, and EMS is one of our programs. I can tell you they don't make that much.
I was a medic in the Navy, and I was considering being a paramedic to keep up that. It would be the easiest transition for me because you were in high stakes. I was in high stakes, keeping people alive in the Navy, and I wanted to do that in the civilian world. And then I found out that they make like $40K a year. That's what they're making. They're making 40. If they've been there for a long time, 45. It's insane. Crazy how overlooked those people are. Absolutely true. Let's be real. No one looks at it like that. LeBron would have been MVP the last 20 years. I know it's basketball, but it's very similar. No, when we were talking about the MVP award, yeah.
Okay.
But but that's what I'm saying, is it should be MVP. I'm a hockey guy. You know who should win MVP every single year? Connor McDavid. Any year that Connor McDavid doesn't win the MVP, it's because they're tired of giving it to Connor McDavid. That's just the reality of the situation. You just got to accept that. Charles M., if we don't get Rodgers or Carr, I would rather trade for Jordan Love over the other QB options. I'm not trading for Jordan Love.
I don't think Green Bay would trade him anyway.
No.
I don't think they would.
In this situation, is Rodgers staying, Charles M.? Like, is that the idea? Because, like, if Rodgers doesn't come to New York, then he's going to Vegas. Those are the only two places that are going to want him right now. Well,
yeah, I'm here in Tennessee, but I think they're on their way down. I don't think Rodgers would want to go to Tennessee.
What I mean by that is they're the only two teams that would want him that are in the AFC. Like, Washington wants him.
Oh, God.
Washington's a good team. They're built well. They've just got a bad ownership group.
Yeah, try every team in the NFC South.
Yep.
Because they could all use a quarterback.
But Green Bay has already said that they're not trading him in the NFC. So if Rodgers is staying, I don't know. I wouldn't trade for Jordan Love. I wouldn't give any assets for Jordan Love.
How do we know that Love is that good anyway? That's the thing with it. He doesn't have a whole lot of playing time. I mean, you're trading for a big, big question mark. We don't even know what his ceiling is. Yeah. So how much are you really giving up for a completely unproven commodity?
Yeah.
Tough question.
Devontae Smith, yep, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah, we got it.
Plan C. What's plan C? Quick. You don't get Rodgers, you don't get Carr. What's the backup plan? What's the backup to the backup?
Give me Garoppolo. Yeah.
sorry.
Okay. Give me a better. Who's it going to be? Tannehill?
Ryan Tannehill. Give me Ryan Tannehill.
I'll take Garoppolo.
Garoppolo after what Purdy did? The last pick in the draft with a limited ceiling, running that system looked just as good as Jimmy G. That doesn't scare you?
I don't trust Tannehill anymore. I didn't say. Hey, you asked Plan C.
But I'm poking holes in your Plan C. That doesn't scare you?
Why should I have that much confidence in Tannehill at this point?
I'm not saying to have that much confidence in Tannehill, but at least Tannehill did it.
I know,
And it was Tannehill because he didn't get replaced by Malik Willis, and the Titans were awesome.
Malik Willis.
I'm just saying, Malik Willis would have been great in San Fran.
I'm not denying there's an injury risk with Garoppolo. Hey,
I'm not talking about the injury.
No, we're not. But Christian McCaffrey came again. That was a huge boost in the San Francisco offense. Now.
I don't disagree. I'm just
saying. That's
saying.
what got that offense going, because we didn't need the offense going through Jimmy Garoppolo. It needed to go through a couple of other players. And then if you put him with a Breece Hall, who could be that bell cow running back, only a little bit younger, eventually once the knee gets better, I'm not worried about Garoppolo needing to be a top 5 quarterback.
Exactly.
I'm not
Tannehill would be under center.
You need a good backup as a floor, whether it's Wilson, whether it's White. You need a good backup if you have Garoppolo. I'm absolutely believing in that. But come on, I don't want to hear about Gardner Minshew. Please, he is a number 2 at best. I don't want to hear anything about Gardner Minshew at this point as a starter.
All of the things that you said, but with Ryan Tannehill. Okay. I have more faith in Ryan, and it's the Brock Purdy of it all. I don't even care about the Jimmy G injuries because they're not like nagging injuries. It's just bad luck. Yeah. He breaks a foot. He tore his shoulder.
I think McCaffrey was.
Man, I don't know. I look at it and I go, Tannehill knows how to run a run game, and Garrett Wilson is. This is blasphemy, and I know what I'm saying is blasphemy, but I love Garrett Wilson, so screw all of you. Garrett Wilson is just every bit as good as A.J. Brown. Let's make it happen.
Guys, we told you at the beginning of the show, when Tico and I disagree, we disagree.
Yep.
You just got your example. You got your pound of flesh.
Yep. Loving the content, Lakey Tigo. Thank you very much, Finger Lakes. I'm not a fan of Baker. It's a personality conflict.
I don't think it's a good marriage. Him in New York, I don't think it would work.
Nah, because he would fight Dick Chimney.
Yeah,
he would fight Chimney in the first interview. Like, can you imagine? Like, Rich is gonna ask him, so why didn't it work in Cleveland and then in Carolina, and then you get cut and then you go to the Rams? Why didn't they want to keep you? Why are you a New York Jet? Are you that bad that you have to come to New? Like, that's gonna be his first question, and then Baker's just gonna leap over and start swinging.
That sounds like a Samini question.
Absolutely, sounds like a Samini question.
Oh my gosh! Thank God Manish is gone.
There is a secret handshake, wink, wink. I love it. I don't doubt that it is. There's a lot of things that keep coming out that Rodgers has made up his mind, and has decided where he wants to go, and that the trade is in place, and we're just waiting. Why would Hackett take this job in fear of damaging his career further? He knows something, right? This is the best argument, right?
It is, concerning how much money he was getting paid to not work.
And the risk of coming back. If he comes back and fails in New York, he's out of the league. Jay Gruden, where did he go after Washington fired him? New York?
Witness protection?
No, he immediately became an OC the very next year. Was it New York? Was it with the Giants?
No, he was never with the Giants. I'll check real quick for you.
Whoever it was, while Adam looks it up, he immediately got fired. What?
Yeah. No, he went to Jacksonville. Now he's with the Rams.
Yes.
So
he went to Jacksonville.
He went to Jacksonville for 1 year.
What year was that?
Then he took a year off. 2020. He went to Jacksonville for 1 year.
And then he got out of the league. And then he went to LA to be an assistant.
Yep. A consultant. He's now the consultant.
He's a consultant.
Consultant.
All I'm saying is, why would he take that risk if he didn't know something? Is absolutely I hate it when people dismiss this argument. They're like, "Oh, come on, be real." No, this is real. This is a real thing that you have to take into consideration. He could have been paid millions of dollars to be in Cabo right now. Why would he come to New York and come to the cold? I'm sorry. As much as I love Zach Wilson, he's not that appealing to be the coach to, right?
I was just thinking about getting paid to go to Cabo.
Millions of dollars to not coach the Denver Broncos. Remember that.
Yeah, pay me to go to Cabo. I think you just pretty much told me here's your ticket, one-way ticket to heaven.
Yep. Charles M. Grabbing center John Michael Schmitz is a must. Here is the only problem. John Michael Schmitz might have played himself out of our range. That's a real thing. Because you know who needs a center too? The Texans.
I think he's going to the back of the first round at this point. I think he played himself away.
I don't think he's that high.
He's not staying at 43.
That's my problem. I don't know if he's there at 43. And here's the other problem. I don't know if 43 is going to be our pick. 43 might go to Green Bay for Aaron Rodgers.
Very well could at this point.
You know what I mean? Like
if we do that, then I'm very open to trading down from 13, particularly
you
prospect we don't want anymore.
You punt.
Those guys are gone. Trade down.
If Peter Skoronski's not there at 13, you trade out of the 13th pick instantly.
Well, I know you're completely sold on him. I mean, I do like Roderick Jones. I'm not as big. I like Jones more than I like Paris Johnson.
I agree.
The reports that I've read, I got to watch a little bit of film on this stuff. But everything I hear about Roderick Jones, I'm getting into it.
The reason I'm sold on Peter is because of his versatility. But the reality is, a Darnell Wright in the top of the second round, a DeJuan Jones in the top of the second round.
DeJuan Jones.
These guys who are going to be Anton Harris, who might be a bottom of the first, top of the second kind of guy. These guys.
I'd say first round, but he's going to be in the first two rounds.
Bottom of the second. He did not have a great Senior Bowl. You know who played them out of the second round by going to the Senior Bowl? Screwed their whole draft process up because he just looked bad. Blake Freeland out of BYU. Screwed himself by doing it.
You know what? Dom had him pretty high in his rankings for offensive tackles. I'll be interested to hear if
he had all, but he looked slow. And like,
message. Stop drafting BYU players.
No, BYU, dude, they've got good guys. But Kai Nakua, or is it Puka Nakua?
Yeah, Puka Nakua.
Is it Puka Nakua? Whatever his name is. Yeah, that guy's gonna be a stud. He's gonna be a stud.
Yep, wide receiver Jaden Reed from Michigan. Very, very good camp.
Yep.
Very, very good. That's one of those mid-round receivers that you could pluck if you wanted to, and can make a difference. You know what I really like when I'm doing these mock drafts right now is that it's not best player available. We know what our needs are at this point, and of course they are subject to change come free agency, come cuts, and all of that. But it's like we only have certain specific needs that we really, really have to address, as opposed to pretty much the entire roster except for, say, safety or except, center. That is a very refreshing feeling.
You know, the thing is I think it is absolutely best player available at this point because we don't have needs. I'm not forcing a tackle pick if the tackle's not there. I'm not forcing a center pick if the center's not there. I'm not forcing a safety pick if the safety's not there. Like, I did a mock draft last night for my Friday night stream, and I took an edge because it was the best edge available in the third round. He was the best player there, and there wasn't a safety, there wasn't a linebacker, there wasn't anything that I looked at that made sense. I just didn't look at anything, and I was like, we took Peter Skoronski at 13.
Why am I not shocked?
No, but because he was there, right? And then I said, I wanted to trade out. That was the plan because I thought Vegas was going to take him in this, but no, he fell to 13, so I took him. And then I said, you know what? In the second round, I traded out of 43. Got another a second round pick. I got John Michael Schmitz, and I got another. So it was one of those things where I was just like, I'm just taking the best player that's on my board because I'm not reaching for need. I took 2 corners in the draft.
Wow.
And I said, buy Bryce Hall and buy Justin Hardy. Because I got 2 guys.
You can't wait to get rid of Justin Hardy.
Dude, save me.
Same thing as 12 months ago. I know you need to save a little bit of money.
Save me $3.5 million.
All-pro Justin Hardy.
Yeah. Oh man, you made the All-Pro as a special teamer, and our special teams was still ass. Oh.
Hey, you won a few. I won that one. Bottom line.
I never said he wasn't a good player. I'm saying he's not worth $3.5 million. That's what I said. Never said he was bad. I said he wasn't worth $3.5 million. There's a difference.
But you argued for cutting him. I argued for keeping him.
Hey, look, it worked out in the end, but it's one of those things where, you can replace him with someone who's younger, who's going to be here for a long time, and that's what I did.
At this point, if they did choose to cut him, I wouldn't be outraged over it. I would understand. I can't say I would like it, but I would get it because if that means you need that money to bring in a quarterback or whatever. I do understand.
And Adam, here's the best part. You know who I replaced Justin Hardy with? I replaced him with the unicorn. A white cornerback, Riley Moss out of Iowa. The unicorn. They said he didn't exist. He exists. I actually really do like Riley Moss. I think he's going to be the Tariq Woolen of this class. There's two guys that I think have the possibility of coming into the NFL. They're going to get picked in anywhere from rounds 4 to 7, and that's Riley Moss and Darius Rush. I mentioned him in a previous draft that you heard out of South Carolina. Both of these guys have insanely good skill sets and just don't have the college tape to back up their skill sets that they have. And I think that they can come in if they go to the right scheme. If they both go to like cover 2 teams, if they go to like Tampa, if they go to Seattle, teams that are playing a lot of cover 2, have safety help over the tops because they will get burned, right? Like they're not going to stick with they're not going to stick with Elijah Moore the whole way down the field. They don't have that speed. But if they got safety help, these are the type. It's with Tariq Woolen, right? Tariq Woolen's going to get beat deep, and he's going to jump routes. He needs the safety help, but when he has safety help, he's excellent. And if you can give these guys the safety help, they can be really high-level players. Darius Rush and Riley Moss out of Iowa. Darius Rush is out of South Carolina, and then Riley Moss is out of Iowa. I would definitely put them on the list of guys that just go look at Riley Moss in the one-on-ones at the Senior Bowl, and you'll see him really sticky. Darius Rush impressed the crap out of me. So, yeah, those are my 2 guys.
Chat, just between you and me, chat, I'm just going to talk to you guys personally. Tigo, we'll just pretend he can't hear this. I thought he was actually going to say Craig James as the replacement for Justin Hardy. I will say this. Brandon Echols is looking better and better on special teams. If he takes that role, I could get with that. If Echols is basically ready to take that job over from Hardy, then I can make a much better argument for letting him go and saving that.
I love me some Brandon Echols. Brandon Echols is going to be the reason we don't extend DJ Reed. I think that, honestly.
When he came on, I don't know about that, but I will say this. When he came on cold in that Cleveland game for a couple of plays and made the pass defenses that he did, I'm like, I like him even more than I did before, and I can understand now playing him ahead of Bryce Hall.
And who was right about that one? Because remember, I wanted to cut Bryce Hall or trade him because I said I believed in Brandon Echols. Who came on cold in a game and looked abysmal? Bryce Hall. Don't need him. Save the money. Cut him. Draft Riley Moss, and we've got a white corner. I'm kidding.
No, it's sad. I mean, Bryce Hall was a very good player 2 years ago. And
I don't know what happened.
I don't understand. Certain guys just fell off this year, whether it was him, Michael Carter. There were certain guys who had regressions that you just didn't see coming. I don't know if it was something that happened to Hall mentally because they got Reed and they got Sauce, and he felt he wouldn't be needed as much. Now, I didn't mind him getting beat by Kyle Pitts, him getting beat by a tight end in those games, in exhibition games. I could live with that. But, yeah, I mean, he just did not look right against Baltimore at all. I don't know if it was an injury or if it was him mentally, but I definitely feel like Hall he was playing much better than he did, and I don't know what happened from that year to this year. It's a mystery to me.
I also think people a little bit overhyped him up. Because I think Brandon Echols was the better of the 2 corners last year.
He was a better athlete. Yeah, he has better athletic ability.
I think he was the better corner straight up. The year they were both the starters, where it was Brandon Echols and Bryce Hall. I think Bryce Hall got all of the it's the Sauce DJ Reed kind of scenario, but the Sauce was actually the best corner. But like DJ Reed was every bit as good as Sauce. Well, because his name isn't Sauce, he didn't get the credit for it. I think that truthfully. I think he was every bit as good as Sauce. Sauce was the better corner, but he was every bit, and he didn't get the credit for it. And I think Brandon Echols was every bit as good as Bryce Hall, but because Bryce Hall was the guy who was, he's going to take a big step this year, everyone looked at him. So that's me. That's my take on it. Let's keep going out here.
Let's go.
What is the deal with the amount of injuries this team always have? If Becton gets hurt again next year, it's over. Again, this is why we're going to get this is why we need to go get a insurance policy for Becton, right? Like, that's why we're talking Peter Skoronski in the first round. That's why we're talking Broderick Jones in the first round. It's not that we need a tackle. It's that we need insurance for our tackles, which sucks. It's what Tennessee is doing, right? With Lewan. Lewan might be back, but that doesn't stop them from taking a tackle because Lewan can't play more than 6 games.
Let's see. I'm just looking something up for us real quick in regards to that, because I think everybody probably thinks, outside of, say, like the New York Giants fans, that they had the most missed games. Like the Giants barely had an injury outside of wide receiver, it seemed like.
I think it's us and the Ravens again, because wasn't us and the Ravens a year ago, and I think it was also us and the Ravens this year. No, the Titans fell apart. Yeah, you're right.
Titans were enormous. Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about the Titans falling apart.
So according to the top 5 were Tennessee with. Oh my God. Let me put it this. I'll give it to you. I'm going to give it to you 5-1. And by the way, the record for this is 394, set by the 2017 Colts. All right. Number 5 this year was New Orleans with 250.
Makes sense.
Number 4, if you can believe this, was Seattle with 251.
Yep, they got annihilated towards the back end of the draft, the back end of the season.
Yeah, and they were still as good as they were. Number 3 was Arizona, 259. Number 2 was now it jumps. Denver was 276.
Okay.
They were number 2. The number 1 team was the Tennessee Titans with 312.
Jesus
the jump
Christ.
From 1 to 2 is unbelievably huge. And so the Jets are not even in the top 5.
No.
Because our injuries were basically, think about it, we had a healthy defense. That is something that people have not really been talking about. Our safeties barely missed any time. Our corners barely missed any time. The linebackers, for the most part, were good. I mean, Sheldon Rankins missed a game here and there. That kind of thing was going on. But the injuries were relegated for the most part. I'm finishing.
No. I was talking to chat, not you.
Okay, the injuries were really relegated to the offensive line for the most part, and I would say Corey Davis as well. And quarterback. It was really the offense that had the injuries. And that's one thing that does concern me a little bit going into next year is, can the defense stay as healthy as it was this year?
Yeah, and the real thing is we had a healthy offense too. We had a not healthy offense at one position. Like, yes, losing Breece Hall was a big deal, and losing but that didn't kill our season. Losing Elijah Vera Tucker killed our season. We should have been able to keep up the production with our running back room being as deep as it is. So, I turned you up. It was on my end. I had you low.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I was
now I know what you were doing.
I was
cool.
I was trying to have him without interrupting you. Sorry.
There we go. It's because he's not using StreamYard, he's using Streamlabs. So it's
exactly.
He controls my mic, so he could shut me up when he wants to if I start talking about Justin Hardy again or Bam Knight.
Boom. If the Jets trade this year's 2 for Rodgers, do you see the Jets trading out of 13 to recoup a second? I see the Jets trading out of 13 if they have 13 in any scenario. It doesn't matter. Let's say we do get Tannehill or whatever. I still trade out of 13.
I probably would also, yeah.
This year's draft class. Go ahead.
Yeah, I feel like it's from what I can gather, and I've really started doing research this week. I feel like there's some good depth at certain positions, but I don't feel like it's a very top-heavy draft at most positions. I don't feel like you're going to see like elite level talent with very, very few exceptions.
There is one exception.
Jalen Carter.
Yep. See, he's the only elite guy in this draft.
Whatever happened to Will Anderson? I know he's probably going to go top 5, but it felt like he was the guy that everybody was talking about a year ago. Like, we had certain certain friends saying they would trade their whole draft just for Will Anderson. So
Alabama's defense sucked this year.
Yeah, that stock has fallen a little bit. It's pretty surprising.
Alabama's defense consists of 2 players that should get drafted, and the rest are bums. Those 2 players are Will Anderson and Brian Branch. That's it. I'm going to get water right here, but yeah, that's it.
Yeah. That was one thing. It seems like a lot of people that we were talking about last year were thinking about coming out for the draft. They didn't. A lot of them went back to school, and their play plateaued or it regressed. Jordan Battle, to me, is a perfect example of that. That's like the first guy that comes to mind, but there are others as well. Even Jared Patterson, to an extent as well. I mean, we were looking at him as maybe being the second center behind Tyler Linderbaum.
Yep.
And now he's being looked at as more of a guard than anything.
You know what? The logic makes total sense. Everything in my bones would have gone back to school because this draft is weak as crap in the top end. So if you play well, if Brian Branch would have had a solid year, we could have seen 2 safeties go in the top, and they both would have been out of Alabama. But he didn't. Brian Branch sucked this year. Not Brian Branch. I'm sorry. Battle sucked this year.
Battle. Yeah.
And Branch took over. So Branch is going to go in the first round, probably top 15, and Battle's probably going to be a 4th or 5th round pick.
It's amazing.
Henry TuoTuo was being looked at as a 2nd or a 3rd.
Oh my God. Oh.
Now he's a day 3 undrafted free agent kind of guy.
It's amazing.
It's insane. There's a lot of these guys that are going to get that kind of grade.
I swear to you, Tua is the kind of player that the Raiders would pick in the 2nd round because they feel like they know better than everybody else. Yep. He's like that kind of a player, I feel like, at this point.
Look, and I like TuoTuo. I really do. But he went back to school and he put bad stuff on tape. Same thing with Jarrett Patterson. Jarrett Patterson went back because he wanted to show guard tape because he didn't want to be pigeonholed as a center because guards make more money than center, and that's what he wants to show. Voice crack. So, but he went back, and it didn't help his stock. So, like, he's going to get drafted to play center, not guard.
Oh, and I'll give you one exception to the rule. One player who I think his stock has gone up this year, and that's Zay Flowers, the wide receiver from Boston College.
He's a bottom of the first kind of guy.
He is.
Like,
you were talking about versatility earlier. He's got that inside-outside thing.
Play X, he can play the Z, he can play the slot,
everywhere.
You can even line him in the backfield, and he'll do it. Now, don't give him a bunch of, like, you pitch it to him and you get him in open space and you give him one cutback lane. But, like, if you do that, Zay Flowers can explode through a hole if it's big enough.
It feels like we're talking about Elijah Moore. It
yes.
feels like we're talking about
yes.
Carbon copy, brother. Carbon copy.
Whatever team gets him, which is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs, and I'm going to hate it, is going to love him.
Oh, my God.
He's going to be so good in Kansas City. Like, you know that's what Kansas City is going to do, right? Like, that's who they're going to take. That, or it's going to be, and hear me out, if they do end up trading him, imagine him in Cincy.
I was thinking about, well, because
they're going to trade T. Higgins.
Right, because Higgins is good. Okay, so I've heard that could be possible. Yeah, because I don't know what the contract situation is with Chase and Boyd, but you're not going to have all 4 of those guys.
Boyd's not going to make a bunch of money. Chase is going to ask for he's going to ask for quarterback money. Because Justin Jefferson's going to make $30 million as a wide receiver. Let that sink in. He's going to go into a negotiation and ask for $30 million, and you're going to have to be like, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, just let me know when you do it in a playoff game, and I'll be happy to sign you. Yeah, he will.
He's going to get $30 million. He is by far and away the best wide receiver in the NFL.
He's one of those players, as long as you're not rooting for a team in the same division, you can't help but
love this kid.
Like him and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You can like respect what a player can do, but maybe not like them. He's just easy to like.
Yeah, he's just a likable human being. Yep.
Yes.
Like, you know who's the exact opposite? Like, you hate him, but you'd love to have him on your team? Like a Tyreek Hill.
Well,
you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, he's one of those guys where, like, you hate him as a human being because he's an absolute scumbag. But if Tyreek Hill's on your football team, you're just like, hey, you know what?
Hey, when he was with Kansas City, I had no problems with him as a human being.
Oh, I did. He's a scumbag.
Well, okay. Once he got in trouble about that one issue, then yes.
No, I mean to talk before that. Like, you could tell, like, his personality and all that. Like, a great example of a guy that you love to love and is great except when he's lining up against you, the Kelsey brothers. Both of them. Travis and Jason. I love both of those guys.
Wait till next year.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Yeah.
Well, Kelsey's a free agent, but I doubt he's going anywhere, in all fairness.
Yeah.
Yeah, what else is the chat talking about here?
I'm trying to skip over the stuff that we've already kind of talked about. Hackett was getting $80K a week to not coach. Yeah, he was. Kingsbury was out when he got fired, went to Thailand. I would have done the same thing, though. Dude, he went to Thailand with a one-way... We don't know when he's coming back. He went one way.
If I had a woman like that waiting for me, I'd have changed my citizenship already, and I'd be speaking Thai and eating pad Thai every freaking day, brother.
I love it.
Oh, my Lord. It just goes to show you can be lousy at your... Like, Kingsbury was never a good quarterback. He was a decent assistant and as a head coach, but somehow he still pulled that one off. Oh, my God.
I'd like to know how many different O-line combinations we used last year. Who played the most? Well, Laken Tomlinson played the most because he didn't miss a game.
And McGovern
missed.
Did he?
He missed. Yeah, because didn't Feeney come in for him?
He came in at guard. He didn't play center. He played right guard. He was playing right guard this year after the ADT went down.
Let me look it
Herbig
up.
went down.
Herbig did go down.
Yeah,
I think we ended up playing 8 combinations on the offensive line throughout the year, which is insane. What's up, Kevin? Buffalo in the house.
I'm trying to figure out where I would find that one.
I'll tell you. The combinations, I have no idea, but I'm looking up the snap counts right now.
Oh yeah, I could do that one. Yeah, that's not hard.
Offense.
I know there was a tweet about it, but okay. Yeah, I think this one's gonna be a little bit difficult. Put it this way, I can probably find it, but it might take a minute. I'm gonna try this post article. Oh yeah,
Connor McGovern. Connor McGovern played the most snaps because Laken Tomlinson apparently missed 1 snap. There is a difference of 1 snap. Connor McGovern played 1,111 snaps. Laken Tomlinson played 1,110 snaps.
Wow.
And then the next closest player is Nate Herbig with 707. Oh, this is on the offensive line. Then George Fant with 516, followed by Elijah Vera Tucker with 432, Max Mitchell with 341, Cedric Ogbehe with 286, and then Dan Feeney with 109, McDermott with 76, LDT with 70, Mike Remmers with 61 because of the 1 game.
I figured Remmers was probably about the lowest or the second lowest.
He is the lowest.
Yeah,
he has 9 less snaps than Laurent Duvernay-Tardif, who has 6 less snaps than Connor McDermott.
Guys, 5 years from now, when you see like a tweet say, name a random Jet, just put in Mike Remmers. It'll be like, really? He was on the Jets?
Yeah, that's a trivia night.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I'm saying, which offensive lineman had the least snaps for the Jets in 2022? And Green Bay be like, Mike Remmers? Yeah, and Frankie's back. Hopefully, he'll be like, "What do K99's pulling out Mike Remmers?" Or however he talks. That's about my best Frankie that I've done without ever practicing.
T. Higgins is awesome. He's not going to be cheap, but if he was in our offense, Garrett Moore, Higgins with Rodgers, Jesus, don't get me. It's not going to happen, but you're not wrong.
If we didn't need a quarterback, then we could talk about that, but. I think that's another thing is that second wide receiver spot along with Garrett because if they let Corey go, it seems like it's out. The only free agent people are really interested in is Alan Lazard, and that sounds good. But if it doesn't work out, then where are you going? I mean, I'm not interested in Jacoby Myers personally.
No, me neither.
I'm not a fan of his.
Just draft a guy. Just go get Andre Yoshivas out of in the 5th or the 6th round. He's gonna break the speed record.
Draft one who's got some size, and let's do it. But I got to tell you, the way wide receiver salaries are going up, my only issue really with Davis, I've been a defender of Davis, but I can readily admit that the injuries and also the penalties have been issues. But when he makes plays, he makes plays.
Yeah, like my biggest thing is the contract. That's it.
What if you restructured it? What if you were able to reduce the annual value but gave him another year?
Here's the thing, right? Here's the problem. He would restructure, I think, but would he be willing to be wide receiver 4? That's your new role.
No.
You're not a wide receiver 1. You're not even wide receiver 2 on this team. And to be fair, I like Denzel Mims' upside more than you because he has availability. The best ability is availability. And Denzel Mims doesn't miss times unless he eats some bad shrimp.
Salmon, but we get it.
Was it salmon?
It was salmon.
No, dang. So you see what I'm saying? Like,
but
and this is a great point. Dimes Polet. I'm hoping I got that right. But Rodgers or Carr would make Denzel Mims a star. Absolutely.
Okay. He could. Now, hey, can they teach Mims to catch with his hands as opposed to with his body? Can they teach him to not have a false start? Can they teach him those?
Coaching. That's totally coaching, though.
Can they teach him those things?
That's totally coaching, though.
Okay, then whoever the new wide receivers coach is, his first job needs to lock himself in a room with Denzel Mims and say, here's how you freaking catch a ball. Take him out to the jugs machine, put him 3 feet away from it and said, we are not leaving here until you make about 100 catches in a row.
With your hands, and then you're going to go one-handed.
One hand. And for every one you miss, you have to eat a bite of salmon. Period. Because we see the physical ability there. It's up here with him. I feel like Mims is like a different version of Zach with the physical talent, but he's got to put it together mentally.
Yeah,
And it's
it's
frustrating because we know he can do it.
absolutely.
We know he can somewhere deep down. And my God, if that happened, it makes those draft classes, which the Joe Douglas haters love to knock, if they could do that, it makes those draft classes look so much better.
So
So much better.
it elevates that class, and like here's the thing, right? So that guy that I mentioned, the wide receiver out of Princeton, Andre Ioshivas, he's gonna break the 40-yard dash record. People like get ready for it. He runs a sub 4.3 40. His last recorded 40 was a 4.26. It's insane. And by the
separation.
And by the way, he's 6'3", 207 pounds running that fast.
So why isn't he like top of the draft board for wide receivers?
One, because he's Princeton. He's out of Princeton. And two, when he's running his routes, he doesn't run a 4.3 speed. He's a track guy. So if you can get him in a straight line as a Z receiver, where he can't get jammed at the line, he can build up that speed and he can get there, which is insane. But the real thing is just snap count. He doesn't have that many snaps at wide receiver. So that's
he's like a Donovan Peoples-Jones kind of guy right now with Cleveland, that kind of a guy.
The way that you look at him is you bring him in as a project wide receiver, a guy that can contribute on special teams because of his speed. He's a Jeff Smith replacement, but with upside. You know what I'm saying? And that's the idea. You get a 4.3 guy to play out as a gunner. Maybe in a package or two, he comes in because 6'3", 207 pounds, he's going to be able to block. You know what I mean? Nope. He is a student, an honor roll student of the Denzel Mims University of Body Catching. He's an honor roll student. Top of the class.
All of a sudden I'm picking a new thumbnail for my next video.
Right? But
fourth round for him, fifth round for him,
fifth round, fifth or sixth round.
Okay, I would. Yeah, I could.
You see what I'm saying? Late,
round, but with our limited picks, like all the way through the fourth round, we gotta be taking players that we can.
And that's what I'm saying. Like he's a fifth round, sixth round guy. He's a project guy. You come in, he's a Jeff Smith replacement, and this is where Joe Douglas makes his money. Is in the third to the sixth round. You know, and that's what you got to do.
And for how many years did we have one bust after another? Shoot, let's throw in the second round. We know the history of Jets' second round failures. The list goes on and on and on from David Harris up until, quite recently. Marcus May aside. But, yeah, it got to the point where with third, fourth, fifth round picks, it's like, okay, we got this guy, but we never expected anything from him because we didn't even know that mid-round picks could become really good players. We didn't know that was allowed in the NFL.
That's a thing?
That as Jets fans. Really?
You brought this up in a Green Bean stream, and it's my favorite thing to mention when people talk about why would we trade out of 13? Because I also made a video where I said, here are 5 reasons why the New York Jets shouldn't pick in the first round at all this year. We should trade out of the first round this year. And one of the things that I said was we should accumulate as many second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth round draft picks in this year's draft as possible. Because the gap between a sixth-round pick and a first-round pick in this class is not as far as it was in previous classes. A sixth-round pick last year's class is a guy who's probably out of the league before training camp, realistically. This year, a sixth-round pick is probably a backup on a lot of football teams. This class is not top-heavy, but it is deep. It is deep with a lot of really good corners, wide receivers, safeties, linebackers, edges that go forever. Running backs. This is the running back class, which is funny because we don't need one, but this is the running back class because you're going to get studs in the 7th round. Studs.
We're already there, but
you get what I'm saying.
We don't need a corner. We don't need a running back. We don't need a tight end, especially after just getting Ruckert. You could definitely make those cases. You could say it depends what we do at linebacker in free agency. That's really going to be interesting. To me, I still think they bring back Quan, but they let Quincy go. I think Quincy's market is just going to get too big. You think it's going to be the other way to keep Quincy? Maybe if they keep – I think some of it could depend if they keep Quinnen or not, if they sign him to a contract. Because I do think if Quinnen stays, it's more likely Quincy stays.
Here's the way that I ultimately see it playing out.
Right.
I think Quan has earned himself a contract, a good one. And a lot of people are like, Quan, come back for $3 million. Quan's not going to get the $3 million contract. Quan is going to get a $4 or $5 million contract. That's too much money, which brings up, I was going to bring up this, but this is actually Tony Alexio brings up a great point here. He wants us to sign Quan.
Sign Quan. Yep.
Here's the problem. This other team in the NFL that happens to wear red, white, and blue just signed Robert Saleh Jr. as their new head coach. Guess who runs the same defensive scheme? Guess who also needs a linebacker?
Houston is signing everybody.
Dude, because Houston needs everybody, right? But what I'm saying is, if Quan came to the Jets, it's in a rotational backup role. If Quan goes to the Texans, he's a starter. And there's familiarity there because DeMeco Ryans was in San Francisco as the linebackers coach while Quan was there. It makes too much sense. You know what I mean?
And one of the things we do have to worry about is that if you look at number 4 and 5 in salary cap space, both have $37 million. It's New England and Houston. By the way, how in Sam hell does Cincinnati have $35 million to work with? That is unbelievable that they have that much. I know a lot of it is going to go to Joe Burrow this offseason, but it is amazing they have that much.
I doubt it. They're going to give him. They're going to give him the Patrick Mahomes deal, where it's like you're going to play on your 5th-year option,
right?
But and the deal picks up the year after it. Like that's what we should do with Quinnen. We should give him a 5-year deal that starts after the 5th-year option.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the Bears do first because they have $98 million. They're
going to sign everybody. The Bears are my favorite from worst to first. Like in their division.
They don't need. I mean, you know what? Free agent sprees like that don't work out very often. Now it worked out pretty well with Jacksonville.
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying is like their defense is pretty good. You know what I mean? Like they've got pretty. I'm saying they've got pretty good pieces there. If you add in an edge rusher, you add in a linebacker, and you draft a corner, they're gonna take Jalen Carter. I'm just saying, Jalen Carter up the middle. You sign an edge. Carter. I'm not saying that like they're gonna be insane, but I also think the Vikings are frauds.
How about the Lions are on their way up?
Oh, I forgot about the Lions. I take it back. I take it back. Okay. That's a bad take. Right. I forgot about the Lions. The Lions are a good football team. I forgot. I thought it was Green Bay. Swear to God, I forgot. I thought the division was just Green Bay, Minnesota, and Chicago. Right. Forgot that the Lions even were a football team. And I was like, why is
that? Yeah, we got to get used to that.
Yeah, I forgot that the Lions are real.
Just like teams got to get used to us pretty soon, God willing. But
Jim Pock, I hate Fields. I am out on Fields totally.
But the pieces, I think of the pieces on the Chicago defense. I feel like they have 2 safeties and not much. No,
they've got a solid linebacker room.
I love Jackson.
But they're great.
Yeah, I love those 2. That's it. I feel like they're like the old Jets defense when we had Adams and May and a bunch of crap.
The real thing is they need a pass rush. If they can create a pass rush, they've got the players to really be a solid defense. And that's where I look at it. Like if you get Jalen Carter, you go get the guy out of Minnesota that's going to be a free agent that I keep forgetting his name.
Daniel, are you talking about Tomlinson? Dalvin Tomlinson? He's a free agent.
I don't remember. It's not important.
All right.
But you get the point.
Is it Hunter?
Is it Hunter?
Is Danielle Hunter a free agent?
I don't remember.
Yeah,
I don't remember. Whatever. Let's keep going here.
All right. Nobody wants to hear us talk Minnesota anyway.
No, Quan will be 29 in August. Absolutely. And he's going to want to play more than just a backup. He was entirely healthy for an entire year, and it's going to be hard to keep him around. People don't realize that. Like, it's going to be hard to keep him around. He's gonna command money. And here's the other thing. People keep talking that the Jets need to draft a linebacker. The Jets aren't drafting a linebacker. I feel that in my bones. People are like, Jets going to draft a linebacker. Jets going to draft. No, they're not. I can guarantee you they're not.
Frankie said the same thing last year. Frankie said the same thing. The Jets were not going to get a linebacker or a safety. And, yeah, you might have said it too. And it wound up not happening.
We need a
linebacker. We need a linebacker.
Nope.
And they didn't do it. But you know what? It's okay because we got good players at pretty much every single draft pick.
How many?
So that's okay. That's okay.
And it's one of those things where, like, we don't believe in the guys, but the staff does.
Right.
That's the thing.
Always. Here's one of the biggest warning signs I can give you guys. And this is something I've learned. Don't always marry a position to a draft pick. we can't think because they don't. A good organization doesn't think. Okay, our biggest need is offensive line. We got to go there with our number one pick.
Yep.
Our second biggest need is safety. We got to go in there with our second. It doesn't work that way.
Nope.
So we got to be more open-minded to different positions at different spots. I know we want to keep it as simple as we can, and that sounds like a good formula. But good teams don't do that. They just look for good players, and they make their system work with those players.
It's about taking the best player available.
Sometimes it's about making a good position great. We all thought a year ago, a lot of people thought before, that the Jets would not get a cornerback. They wouldn't draft Sauce because the Jets were good at cornerback, and it wasn't something Joe Douglas would do. Well, Sauce was the best freaking player available in that draft. Certainly the best defensive player in that draft. And they had the chance to take him, and they did. Not because it was going to make a bad position good. It was going to make an okay position great, and that's exactly what happened, and that's why we had a top 5 defense last year. Can I get a witness in this congregation?
That's the whole thing, is about making great positions even greater, good positions great, and, like, positions that aren't a need. Like, here's the thing, right? A position becomes a position of need when one player goes down. That happened to offensive line. Last year, offensive line wasn't a position of need. Tackle wasn't a position of need. We lost one guy, and it became a position of need.
Yep. And
one guy.
Trade this guy. We got the depth. I'm like, don't you know when you trade a player in that spot, the next guy always gets hurt or isn't as good as we hoped he was, and there goes your depth. So you gotta be careful with that.
That's the thing. Look, it's a situation about it. If the Jets,
Harlan, I just saw Harlan Abraham was here. Want to give him a quick shout out. Hey, Randilla, saw you too.
Oh, hey, Harlan. I love Harlan.
Good to see you guys also. All right.
Harlan is my favorite sub. Sorry, guys. And it's because he bought my mugs. He's always in the comment section. I know that if I upload a video, I'm gonna get a comment from Harlan. He left me a beautiful voicemail on Thanksgiving when I was like almost dying. It was fantastic. I love Harlan. Wow. Harlan's great. Harlan's my favorite. See, here he is. I didn't even ask for this. Don't forget to purchase Talking Jets with Tico. He's awesome. I love Harlan. If the Jets get Rodgers, what are the chances that Lazard follows him here? Look, while Lazard, very unlikely. Lazard is at a point, this is his first free agent contract. He's going to want to get paid. If he comes to the Jets, he's going to get $10 million. If he hits free agency, he'll get 15 to 16. He's going to go get paid.
Yeah, I don't think he's attached to the hip. Bakhtiari is more attached to the hip to Rodgers.
Randall Cobb.
It doesn't feel like Cobb has been in the league as long as Rodgers.
Well, he had. Like Cobb is like 36.
Oh my gosh.
Cobb is old. But like what I'm saying is like Cobb can come in and be a Braxton Berrios replacement. You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm saying. Like if you cut Braxton Berrios, Randall Cobb is going to cost you like $3 or $4 million. You'd be a Jeff Smith replacement. Like I'm not saying we need to bring in a wide receiver, but what I'm saying is I don't think Lazard follows him purely based on the fact that like this is his opportunity to get paid. You know what I mean? That's the reality.
I definitely hear what you're saying with that. I just wanted to look up wide receiver free agents because
it's not
again,
good.
I know a lot of people are it's not, but I wanted to go through some names here because a lot of people are, it feels like it is universally acknowledged that Corey Davis will be cut. To which I say, okay, you're saving the money, but then you need another receiver. I am not ready to promote Denzel Mims to be a starter. I'm not.
Well, he's not.
Comfortable in it. No, but it seems like you'd have to spend the money somewhere.
No, you don't.
Because we know these wide receiver. Hey, these wide receiver salaries are going up, or you have to use a good draft pick. Here's
the thing. Denzel Mims is wide receiver 4 on this. Would be wide receiver 3 on this team. The thing that you're failing to understand is that we're not going to line up in 4 wide receiver sets anymore, 20 times a game. Nathaniel Hackett is a run-first offensive guy. Wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2 are going to be Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore. Denzel Mims is going to come in when we want to put Elijah Moore in the slot. And Denzel Mims is absolutely good enough to be wide receiver 3 in this for us. Absolutely good enough to do it.
Okay, so what you're saying is you're good with Elijah Moore as being a starting outside receiver.
Yes. He is good enough to be a starting outside receiver.
Okay, I'm not sure that I'm there yet. I'm not sure that
Go back and watch last year's games and watch how open he was running constantly.
I know.
Derek Carr or Aaron Rodgers are going to hit him.
But in that spot full time?
Yes, that's what he did. Year one, he took no snaps at slot, essentially. He played exclusively on the outside. And look how good he did in his rookie year. If he didn't get hurt, he would have broken 1,000 yards. That's the thing. Don't put the failures of the quarterback and the offensive coordinator on the wide receiver. He was open constantly. And I'm not just talking about like a deep routes and all of those things. He was open and getting open quickly and effectively. He just wasn't getting looked at because we had 4 quarterbacks who couldn't reach top 25 level play.
And let's see if he's in this. Yeah, let's see if he's in mentally, because we know we had the trade request. Let's see if he's over that, and I need to know that he's right up here.
I think he is, because it's going to be a new. It's a new quarterback. That's going to be able to hit him accurately. That's the thing. Because even Garrett Wilson towards the end of the year got that way mentally. Well, I think we had this conversation, you and I, where we were talking about where it was just like he's got to grow up a little bit, Garrett Wilson, because he was kind of doing like that, throwing his arms up and doing all that stuff. And I was like, I get that you're frustrated, but that's not the spot to do it. But that's the whole point, right? Like when you have an Aaron Rodgers or a Denzel or Derek Carr throwing at him, Denzel Mims and Elijah Moore's games elevate because of the fact that he can play exceptionally well.
Oh, question.
Now, does that mean that I want Elijah Moore outside full time? Absolutely not. But Elijah Moore splitting reps 50-50 at the slot and outside? Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
He absolutely can do it. And here's the thing. When you bring in Denzel Mims in 2 package sets, he's good enough. He gets open. He knows the playbook now. There's no excuses. But more importantly, he is a good and willing blocker. So if you're telling me that I can save $14 million and then in the 5th round draft a Denzel, because you're not drafting a Corey Davis replacement. You're drafting a Denzel Mims replacement. That's what people have to think. Denzel Mims is ready to take that step up to be wide receiver 3. He did it for a lot of this year. And if we had a better quarterback, he would have had a better year. And so while I get the whole body catching, it infuriates the crap out of me, he is a good wide receiver. And that's the thing. We don't need a wide receiver 2. We don't need a wide receiver 3. What this team really needs is a wide receiver 4. And you can get that in free agency. You can, like, Randall Cobb can be, even at 32 years old, can be wide receiver 4. Byron Pringle can be wide receiver 4. Like, I'm not the big, but Jacoby Myers can be wide receiver 4. You know what I'm saying? That's the way that you got to look at it.
No, right, but he wouldn't be because
Juju's available.
Yep, Juju is available, and I'm okay using him if you're not counting on him to be like a top receiver. I mean, outside of that, you can always bring back Jamison Crab. I would even bring in Watkins for cheap. I wouldn't even be against Sammy Watkins.
N'Keal Harry would come in with a fire under his ass to try to beat the Patriots as wide receiver 4. Like, again, I'm not saying that these are excellent options, but the thing is... Yeah. Yep. McCole Hardman's going to hit. Like, but these are wide receiver 4s. These are guys that aren't going to see a lot of play time. We got to remember that Mike LaFleur was the one who had this thing that he needed to play Jeff Smith 5 snaps a game. Nathaniel Hackett's not going to do that. So once we get that, that's the understanding. You know?
Yeah, that's about the highlights from that wide receiver free agent class.
Yeah, it's not good.
By the way. No, it seems like most of these free agent classes, they're not exactly a whole lot to get excited about. I mean, like defensive tackle's okay. I think linebacker's halfway decent. I don't know about linebacker, but in terms of positions we're looking at, there's not and safety is quite good. There's some good safeties out there.
This is the year.
Juicy.
This is the year a lot of people want to cut Whitehead. Whitehead's back. Get that through your head. Whitehead's actually going to get an extension. People don't realize that. We're going to give Whitehead another year. We're going to give him a 2-year contract, and he's going to lower his cap hit from $10 million to about $7 million so that he can make an additional $4 million the year after, right? So he's going to get extended. Whitehead's going to be here for another 2 years. Then you're going to use that $3 million that you saved on him and the fact that the cap went up $14 million, and you're going to go out and get Von Bell.
Yep, and his market value right now is under $10 million.
Yep.
I mean, and that's even factoring Jesse Bates, Jordan Poyer. Now, of course, Bates to me would be replacing Whitehead if Whitehead left, because I would not want to be using Bates in coverage because he's not a coverage safety as much as he is a hitting safety. Okay,
Bates is their free safety.
I know, but to me, that's not where he's best. And I like Bates, but I saw him too many times where he just didn't have the speed to keep up as much.
Yeah,
I like him
that's
more
true.
as a strong safety as opposed to a free safety.
But that's why I said Von Bell, right? Von Bell's the guy that you go get. And then here's one of the reasons why I don't think we're going to draft a linebacker. I think Tremaine Edmonds is going to be a New York Jet. I have no anything saying that this is like, but I just feel it in my bones. Feel it in my bones. That's really it.
Do you think Edmonds would play off ball?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
so what he does in Buffalo, Milano's the middle.
Seems like in the lineups, typically Edmonds was the middle and Milano. Okay, I think they may have switched that not that long ago.
I think Milano's the middle.
Depth chart, Edmonds was always middle, and Milano was.
Oh no, you're right. Milano's the will.
Right.
Whatever. They can play both. Edmonds is good enough to play off ball.
He would have to, because I'm sorry, you still have Mosley, who's still going to be around, and I still like to think there's a place for Sherwood on the team.
No, yeah, he's CJ's replacement.
Yeah, hopefully one of these days.
And then when CJ leaves in a year or two, Jamian steps up, and now you have Tremaine Edmonds and Jamian Sherwood.
I would.
And there you go.
If that happens, I'm game.
And a lot of people are talking about, Tremaine Edmonds is going to get what, $11 million a year? That's not that much.
Tackling machine.
Yeah. And he's great in coverage. Great in coverage. I'd give him a 4-year, $44 million deal, easy. That'd be the first thing I do. Day one of the free agency.
He brings in leadership. He'd bring in character. You know what? I would take any linebacker who. Yeah, I would take it. Any linebacker who can snuff out a screen pass.
Dude, and now your linebacker room is fixed. And again, this is why I love this part of the offseason, because drafts are in. How many times did we take a tight end in the first round last year?
How many what?
How many times did we take a tight end with the 10th? We traded out of 10 and took a tight end in the first round.
836 times. Every draft until we signed Conklin and Uzama.
See what I'm saying? And then we stopped drafting tight ends, like almost entirely. Or like we were like, oh, this guy might be a good undrafted free agent, or we're gonna get this guy at 50, or like needs are only needs until you fill them, and it's just one of those things.
Right.
And like it's obviously that's a really easy thing to say. Needs are only needs until you fill them. But what I'm saying is there is an opportunity to fill that need before the draft. What happens if we bring back McGovern? We stop drafting centers in the second round. We start looking at Olusegun Oluwatimi. We start looking at Jarrett Patterson. We start looking at these guys who are developmental centers. Alex Steen now becomes an option. I'm not a Steen guy, but he's an option.
Forsyth, the center?
Forsyth, Stromberg.
Forsyth, yeah.
All of these guys become an option because now you can just take a center in the 6th round, and then in 2 or 3 years, you can become a replacement. And that's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, building the pipeline, just like we talked about, because we've learned it's way harder than it used to be to build up depth at offensive line, because it seems as though as offenses have become more and more important in the league, as it's become a more offensive-minded league, it's been harder to develop and maintain, more importantly, an offensive line, especially multiple pieces on that line. And it's strange to me that as offenses have gotten better, it's been harder to find those offensive linemen than it ever was before.
It's because offenses have become so complex on the offensive line, because we're asking guards and tackles and centers and all of these different guys to pull in different directions and change directions really quickly, and we're asking offensive linemen to get to the next level more often than ever before. So it's one of those things where it's just like a guy who has the ability to stand up and just hold a guy and has a great anchor, but also has the ability to take a guard, go with your guard and take a DT, pass the DT off to the guard, get to the linebacker, lay out the linebacker, and then get to the safety. Like, that's what we're asking of our centers and of our guard. We're asking tackles to pull all the way to the other side of the field to take out linebackers, like end their careers, because that's how the play design, because we want that cutback lane, we're asking these offensive linemen to do so many different things that before, offensive linemen had one of two jobs. It was either this or this, right? And like, get ready with the punch. That's it. That's all they had to do. You either kick back or you step forward into the guy, and that's it. We're asking these offensive linemen to do so much more nowadays that it's insane. Oh, well, Adam's gone. Adam, once it restarts, let me know. I'll put you back in. It should be the same link. If it doesn't, send me a message on Twitter. We'll get you back in here. Guys, let's switch back to this screen. But that's the whole point, right? It is that. Let's power through some of these while Adam tries to get back, if he wants to get back. All of that stuff. Our defense must have more blitz packages like the sauce attack. I don't agree. I think our defense was top 5 without a blitz package. The Buffalo Bills, also a team that doesn't blitz very often. Very, very effective. Now, while I'd like to see a couple more blitzes, I don't think I'd like to see us blitzing a whole bunch. I'd like for us to say sub 10% blitzes. Because that would just mean that our defensive line is getting home. And I think, while this is a crazy thing to say, I think our defensive line is only going to get better next year. Carl Lawson was a little bit of a non-factor last year, and he did a lot of great things. And I think when you add JJ to get his snaps, when you see a guy like Bryce Huff elevated to get more snaps, Michael Clemens elevated to get more snaps, all of that is going to backfire in a really, really positive way. And so that's what I would look at when you look at something like that. If we had made the playoffs, we would have had blitzed like no tomorrow. I don't think so. Sauce was promoted getting A. Rodgers. Yeah, he was. He was talking about it. He was doing all that stuff. We need blocking wide receivers, especially if we lose Davis. 100%. Lazard is a great blocker and a great locker room guy. Look, I'm not saying that I am anti Adam Lazard. The problem is that Adam Lazard is going to want to get paid, and we don't have the ability to pay for a $16, $17 million wide receiver. It's why we're cutting Corey Davis. And that's the thing, right? If he's willing to take a pay cut to follow Aaron Rodgers, I would totally bring in Adam Lazard at $10 million. But he's going to want to get paid, and he's arguably one of the best wide receivers in this available draft, in this free agency class. That is the problem. I guess you haven't heard. Jets will still have Denzel Mims. He can block. Yep. Chiefs almost certainly cut MVS. I'd take him on the right deal. That's a good one, too. Valdez-Scantling on the right deal. Maybe tries to follow Rodgers again. That's a great point. I didn't even think of that, Vervain. This is a great option. Tight ends. Hey, Jinpak, that's actually not true. Because if you look at the tight ends' efficiency in the red zone where Nathaniel Hackett was utilized, they were actually really well utilized. It was when Matt LaFleur was calling plays that the tight ends were underutilized. Look that up. And if you want that to be backed up by even more statistics, look up the Jacksonville years and look how utilized the tight ends were in Jacksonville when Nathaniel Hackett was the offensive coordinator there. You'll be surprised. Also, LaFleur is gone. Who he cursed out. We were talking about Denzel Mims, absolutely. When Breece Hall ran for a TD, Denzel Mims had the key block that sprung him, absolutely. Big Al, no, hell no. Moore is not an outside receiver. We need someone else to be wide receiver too. Moore is a slot guy. Moore can be both. What's up? Woke up? Okay, go check on him. Okay. He was exhausted. Sorry, my wife was coming in. Oh, you are? Give me 1 second. Boom, 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 boom. And show on stream. There he is.
All right, there we go.
There we go.
This computer's like 13, 14 years old. I got initially when I was trying to sell life insurance, which lasted about 3 weeks. I got a touchscreen laptop. And just randomly, it acts really stupid and said, "We need to start for unknown reasons. We apologize about this." So, nothing I could have done on that one.
Let me readjust you here.
Okay.
Get you in there, and then boop boop, boop boop. Beautiful. Yeah. What was I talking about? Oh, I think with Moore. Moore can absolutely play on
Moore, yeah.
Yeah. Moore can absolutely play on the outside. He has the ability to. He was just failed by, I honestly think, by Mike LaFleur.
By quarterback play?
By Mike LaFleur and quarterback play.
LaFleur more so. I think more so quarterback
I think it was more LaFleur. LaFleur used him as a bait way too often. Way too often. Kind of a thing. And that's and he never used him as the first read. Now, when you have a guy like Garrett Wilson, I get why. But He's good enough to be the first read. Now, I'm not saying I want him on the outside full time. I've said this already, but he can do it. And Harlan, my wife was going to bed. She was in her PJs. I wouldn't let her come on stream with what she was wearing.
We'll just have to imagine. Okay.
Please don't.
No, rather not. But no, actually, the thing that I blame LaFleur for more so than the wide receiver, I was actually more disappointed with the use of the tight ends. I never understood. It feels like Tyler Conklin, he got off to a rough start, but I thought he got better as the year went on. But it seems like most of the time they would use him in a check down role. Like when we would wind up in one of our many 3rd and 10 or 3rd and 15s, he would get the 6 or 7 yard dump off. We were using Ty Conklin in Tyler Johnson's role. And it made no sense to me with using him for those dump off rolls.
So
but
here's
when
why.
you throw to him down the field, when you throw the ball to Conklin down the field, it can work.
Yep.
And when you throw the ball to a zone, I got really annoyed with people who were the Joe Douglas critics who were knocking the free agent class. There were people saying DJ Reed worked out and everybody else sucked. Apparently, your caliber is if you're not Pro Bowl, you're a bust. That's what these people go by. But when they threw the ball to Uzama, it generally worked well.
Yep.
It's just that he never seemed to get more than 2 targets a game.
Yep.
I never understood the use of the tight ends in this offense. That was my biggest criticism.
You have to remember, and this is going to come off a little bit as a Mike LaFleur defense, but it's not because it's his failure to adapt. You have to remember that he came from a system that had the best tight end in football. Right? Kittle. And we use Conklin.
Outside of Kelsey, but okay.
Yeah. No, I think Kittle's the best tight end in football.
All around,
I love Kelsey.
Best receiver, Kelsey, all around Kittle with the block. I'll give you that.
So here's the thing. Kittle can run the seam. That's what we thought. We thought that we were going to try to accumulate Kittle with 2 tight ends. The short dump-off pass kind of guy was going to be C.J. Uzomah. Excuse me. And then Tyler Conklin was going to be the seam guy. The guy who splits your cover 3s. The guy who gets between the cover 2. That guy. Here's the thing. Do you know why we did the dump-off 6-yard pass to Tyler Conklin on short downs, on 3rd and 10, on 3rd and 12? Why we did that? Because when they did that in San Francisco, with the best tight end in football, it had like a 73% success rate.
And like freaking Trent Williams in at left tackle, let us not forget that.
But he would catch the 6-yard dump route. He would put his shoulder in and through a linebacker, get to the safeties and the rest of the linebackers, fall forward, 3rd and 12, now it's a first down. I can't tell you how many times San Francisco runs that play. They do it constantly. And it works.
It's one reason Brock Purdy looks as good as he does, because he likes to focus on tight ends and running backs as opposed to wide receivers. That's been Purdy's focus, primarily.
And so, Jinpak, to talk about that, the wide receivers' jobs weren't to get open in the play design. Those wide receivers' jobs are to pull corners and safeties away from the tight end. The problem with that play design is it only works if you have the best tight end in football. And
We're not quite there.
And he failed to adapt. That was the problem. So
there were too many times, when it took a long time to realize that, we might want to use Garrett Wilson on the outside instead of in the slot. That took time. It took a long time to figure out we might want to throw to our tight ends when we're in the red zone. Things like that. It's like LaFleur would adjust, but it felt like it took half the season to figure some of the stuff out that we could figure out after 2 weeks. So
Conklin proved he was not a reliable pass catcher. Uzama, when they did throw at him, got him the ball, got a lot of yardage. It was utilization. Conklin was overutilized, and Uzama was underutilized is the problem. Conklin, and if Conklin and Uzama met in the middle with their utilization rates, you would see we would have 2 really, really good tight ends.
I still remember that Uzama, like that over-the-shoulder catch that he made. If you remember the one that I'm talking about, when it was like Willie Mays in the 1954 World Series. He made like this over-the-shoulder catch, and it was so nice. He took it down the field, and it's like he barely gets targeted outside of that. It's like this was a piece that we could have used more. And again, Conklin to me showed more. He had a lot of drops early on, so I agree with what you're saying, Harlan. But I felt that those drops started to go away a lot more as the year went on. And I felt he was the type of wide receiver. If we had used him like we used Dustin Keller back in the day, going down the field, running that seam like you were talking about, then you had something that there were times when Conklin, I think, had the second most catches on the team.
Yep.
But how many of them were memorable? How many big plays you remember Tyler Conklin making? Not a whole heck of a lot. And so, yeah, knowing when to use him is just as important as knowing how to use him. That's something else we got to keep in mind.
It's funny because even though that pass was incredible, you know who should have been who should have been running that route? Tyler Conklin. That's a Tyler Conklin throw. Like pass running route. And like all of those dump offs to Tyler Conklin, you know who should have been in on those plays? CJ Uzomah. Because he's the bigger guy. That's the thing.
Yeah. Harlan, no, I'm not talking about the Strevler pass against Jacksonville. This was actually Zach threw that one. It was like a little pass to his right. That was like 6, 7, 8 yards, something like that. But he made a really nice catch on it and took it down a good part of the field. I don't remember the opponent, but I can tell you Zach threw the pass.
Jets gang with an absolute steamer. Jin Pak with an absolutely fantastic breakdown and analysis. Conklin doesn't equal Kittle. Phenomenal. You're not wrong, and that was the problem.
Look at you, Jim Pak, bringing the heat tonight. He's bringing the controversy.
Oh man, of course he's not. And the problem was that Mike LaFleur thought he did, and also 300 yards for a tight end, like a 300-yard difference in tight end production is like 900 years.
It's stark.
That's a big difference. Like Travis Kelce going for 1,500 yards is an astronomically insane anomaly. You know what I mean? That's insane. George Kittle was 70 yards short of 1,000 yards this year. Again, these are anomalies. These aren't the standard. I'm willing to bet
Kittle got most of his yardage towards later in the season. It felt like Kittle, he was good last year, but he wasn't Kittle. And I felt like this year he got better as the year went on. It just felt that way with Kittle.
Yep.
Because there was so much focus on Samuel, Ayuk, and and players like that. Because Kittle's got to share some reps right now.
Yep. And here's the thing: is he did that only being targeted 90 times.
Wow.
With 70 catches.
That makes it even more impressive.
That's insane.
That's what 13, 14 yards. That's
13.3 yards per carry.
13 to 4. Okay, 13.3.
I'm telling you, dude.
For a tight end, that's nuts.
That's insane. He leads tight ends with yards per carry, except for Okonkwo, but he got targeted 45 times. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's insane what Kittle is doing. It's crazy.
Tony Alexio, cut Bush Berrios, Bam Knight for punt returns, more cap space.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
It's not very often I get to see this, but I agree with Tony.
Look, I would keep him. But if we cut him, I get it. Box, Garrett Wilson, one of the best run after catches in the league, up there with Tyreek. Glad we didn't pay him. Yeah, I'm on board.
Yeah. Agreed. It was one of the best trades that we didn't make. And to think the whole saga lasted 2 to 3 hours from the time that Hill was made available to when he was going to Miami.
Yep.
That was a crazy freaking day. John Hepburn, I bet Brady comes out of retirement and plays for the 49ers. You know what? I hope he does, because it gives him another chance to break his word, break his promise, and look like even more of a fraud than he already is.
Nah, he won't do it. He's done.
No, he won't do it.
Nah, he's done.
I'd love him to, though, just to show he has absolutely no integrity at all. And, by the way, if you're a guy and you're watching this 80 for Brady movie, call the FBI, see if they can find your balls for you, please.
Tight ends were blocking well when the run game was working. Absolutely. Like, again, they were totally worth it when it came to the run game and everything like that. It's Mike LaFleur's mismanagement of the tight ends was a bigger problem than the tight ends level of play. And we're going to get better tight end utilization and usage out of Nathaniel Hackett because he's shown us that that's what he does.
And I'll tell you another thing. Jeremy Ruckert, in that last game, I know he wasn't catching passes, but he showed he can run block. He is good at run blocking. He's going to run some people over. He may have been the least performing of our draft picks in this class. He's going to take a jump next season. I've got a good feeling about Ruckert's future.
Not next year. He's not going to play next year. He was the whole idea was
more.
that he's going to redshirt 2 years.
I've never heard anybody say 2 years. I have not heard that.
Where is he going to play next year? Kittle. We still have Uzama and Conklin. They're both going to get the reps over Ruckert.
But Yeboah would still be the third tight end at that point because he was playing specials. He would get some snaps. And if Hackett is going to utilize the tight ends, then there might be an opportunity for that. And even I'm not saying that Ruckert is going to be like a top target in the passing game, but there are a lot of games when he wasn't even active.
I think we're going to see a lot of that again.
He's at least I think he's going to be active quite a bit next year. I think he's the third tight end, and I think Yeboah goes.
I think Yeboah stays. Yeboah's a special. Okay. He's a special teams stud. If we can't cut Justin Hardy, Yeboah might be the third best special teamer on this team behind Justin Hardy and then Brandon Eccles. You know what I mean? Like he's that important to the special teams game.
Ashton Davis, I would put up there.
Ashton Davis is a great. Yeah, that's actually probably more true.
Yep.
You know, but you get what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying. Interesting.
This is a great comment. Big differences, Kyle Shanahan, though, versus Mike LaFleur. Absolutely. They're not the same.
Hard argument.
They're not the same.
I mean, the players still make it. The players still make the coordinators look good for the most part, but I get it. Yep.
And here's the thing with this question, because Jets game, how did Mike LaFleur get so much worse from year one? Did he?
This is deep.
Did he? Or was he just the same guy, but when we were asking him to win games instead of just play games? Because we weren't expecting to win games year one. We won 4 games, right?
I will say the offense got a lot less creative this year.
Yeah.
That was a big part of it. But again, you had an offensive line that really, really went downhill, and I think he was unable to adjust for that.
Yep.
When they lost their best player, they lost their best offensive player, lost their best offensive lineman, and they just couldn't figure out an offense to pivot that because you didn't have an accurate quarterback. Any of the 4. Any of them. I'm sorry. I like Mike White, but come on. He had one game against the worst passing defense in the league. And against Chicago, he was good against them. Pretty much the worst defense in the league. Yep. Okay, he's against 2 lousy defenses. And then he started to get hurt. So I think he did what he could with what he had. But again, you mix stagnant pond water and raw sewage, you ain't getting Dasani or Evian water, okay?
That's a great analogy. I love it.
Thank you.
Brees Hall
he only had so much to work with and he couldn't pivot.
Exactly.
But it wasn't the right spot.
No.
I agree with it at this point.
Brees Hall getting 2K this year? I doubt it. I doubt if he breaks 1,000 next year. He's not going to play until week 6, week 8.
No. Yeah, I would say a no to the 2,000. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if. Definitely not this year. Maybe the year after you can make the argument.
Oh, yeah. Year 3?
Year 3 you can make that case. This year, I wouldn't even want him to because that means you're putting a lot of tread on the tires really quick.
Thanks, Renee Gutierrez.
We got Bam Knight. We got Michael Carter. We got Ty Johnson. And I think we might still have James Robinson if they keep him. There's a lot of running backs already on this team. You don't have to burn Brees out that quickly.
Nope, you don't have to risk it. And that's the thing. I'm not saying that a lot of people are going to look at this and be like, oh, Tigo hates Brees. No. I loved Brees. I wanted the Jets to take Brees. I love Brees. I love me some Brees Hall. But we have a really good running back room. We don't need to rush him. Imagine Brees Hall with 6 or 8 less games under his legs for the first week of the playoffs.
Playoffs?
I'm just saying.
Yep.
After a team has to go through the wild card round because we got the first seed and we got the bye, I'm manifesting my destiny, right? Aaron Rodgers gets us the number 1 seed in the AFC. We get the bye week. He's rested up. And then you get a broken and battered and bruised Buffalo Bills coming into MetLife, and Brees Hall has 8 less games under his belt. Go eat, King. Ooh, go eat.
Ronald Perry, running back room is not that great. Ronald,
give
me a better 1 through 5 running back system in the league. It may not be the most top-heavy, but you're not going to find a deeper running back group in the NFL than this.
We have to remember that not just the quarterback and the wide receiver suffered from a bad O-line.
Thank you.
The running backs did too. Knight is legit.
Dwayne Brown was the worst run-blocking offensive tackle in football this year. And a lot of that's because of his injury. He could not run block.
He didn't have an arm. Guys, I have a rotator cuff injury. I don't understand how he was blocking at all this year.
Laken Tomlinson was terrible this year. Not like you needed us to tell you that. You're smart. You guys know what's up. You knew this. McGovern, okay, he was fine. Herbig was okay when he played. AVT was great. Right tackle was a revolving door. And George Fant, George Fant was never healthy this year.
Nope.
And even if he was healthy, he's not a good run blocker.
He's also not a good tackle.
No, we know he's a good pass blocking tackle when healthy. As we know, you and Nick have had a very famous debate about that. But we can let's at least acknowledge when he's healthy, he can pass block well from the left side. He can do that much. But yeah, this was a bad run blocking offensive line, and when you lost ABT, into the toilet it went. And that's why they need to do is upgrade the run blocking in particular on this offensive line during this offseason. Look at the Denver Broncos. Do we remember the Denver Broncos like the 90s when Mike Shanahan was there? And guys like, forget Terrell Davis, Olandis Gary, Mike Anderson, these kinds of guys were just dominating because the offensive line opened up the holes for these running backs. That's what we could do.
And Jim Pock's not wrong. It's the best running back room in the AFC East right now. Like, it's 5 deep, guys. Let that sink in. You have no need.
Mostert, yeah, because Mostert's a free agent for Miami,
yep.
Right?
There's no need to rush Breece Hall back. There's no need. And when he comes back, he'll be healthy, he'll be fully ready, and then our rushing attack is going to explode. Explode. Hackett is a run guy. They brought in a run game coordinator to help the run in the offensive line. Our run game is going to get better. Not just because of bringing back Breece Hall. Michael Carter's still a legitimate running back. Bam Knight showed that he's got it. That's one of the biggest draft busts I've ever made. I didn't believe in Bam. I didn't think he should be on this team. I didn't think we should have kept him. I cut him I was wrong. And I'll admit it. Bam is legit. James Robinson, we don't know what James Robinson is. We don't know if we're going to get year 1 James Robinson or last year James Robinson. We have no idea. But he's still a possibility. And I get it that you guys want to hate on him, and that's fine. But the realistic understanding is Ty Johnson is a good running back.
He was good. Yeah, he was good last year.
When utilized correctly, Ty Johnson is the only other running back on the running back that the 5 that we have next year that has home run potential. Michael Carter doesn't get you to the end zone if he breaks out. Neither does James Robinson. Neither does Bam Knight. Right. They get caught. Ty Johnson and Breece Hall are the only guys that if they make it through the hole and they can make that last guy miss, they're gone. They're gone. They're in the end zone. The problem is Tyler Johnson doesn't make that last guy miss.
Not usually, and you never know how his hands are going to be, especially if he's getting the ball thrown to him. You cannot trust his hands. But he's got amazing footwork.
Honor roll student of the Denzel Mims School of Body Catching. No, I'm kidding. He actually catches with his hands. It's just, does he like eat popcorn on the side? I don't know what he's doing, but they slip out of his hands. But again,
I think his afro gets in the way is the problem.
Maybe that might be it. I love this comment. I swear you can never find another fan base that hates their own players the way we do. Wild Wave, preach. Say it one more time for the people in the back. This is the truest thing ever. This is funny. Knight led me to the fantasy playoffs and was an integral part of losing it for me when I got there. I love it. That's hilarious.
I lost half my roster. Oh, my God. Yeah, I lost Breece early on. I lost so many players. That was painful.
Jets have one of the best running back rooms in the league, and everyone is 25 or under. Yep.
They do. It's you can't deny this.
I don't know if Streveler's back, Tony. If I'm being honest.
We know he's got a reserve contract locked up. So
yeah, but I mean, he'll
be on the practice squad.
Yeah. This is a great, Tony. I'm gonna skip some comments really quick. Let me see, and then I want to ask this question. James Robinson is so disrespected. Yep, absolutely. Tony, no, I'm not gonna read that. Tony, he says doesn't know. Streveler will be back. We want Streveler for fullback. I'm on board, even though I love Tyler Bodden.
Bring back Nick.
Nick Bodden.
Nick Bodden. Well, he's a free agent, so
yeah, but we can bring him back.
We could, but I think we might keep 4 tight ends. And if you keep 4 tight ends, you don't have room for a fullback.
You're not wrong. I got a question for you.
Yeah, and I would have kept Bawden, by the way, if he didn't get hurt. I absolutely wanted him on that roster.
I did. I had him on my 53, even with him hurt because I thought he was going to be back for the year.
Same.
And technically, we kept him on the 53 the whole year. We put him on long-term IR.
We did.
Right? Because then you get your roster spot back. Okay, question. And I want the chat to get involved in here. Okay? So chat, get involved. With what happened with the San Francisco game and the failure for the two quarterbacks getting hurt and there's no third quarterback and they were putting in a wide receiver at quarterback and all of that stuff happening, do you think the NFL institutes a 48th player rule where the 48th player has to be, because you know how you can only activate 47 guys? On any
40, yeah. 53-man roster, and there have to be, 6 inactives?
Yeah. So you can only activate 47 guys?
47, okay.
Right? Do you think they institute a 48/third QB rule after the San Francisco game?
You're talking about for all games going forward?
For all games. So you activate 47 guys. You get to pick what they are. And you get one 48th guy if and only if it's a quarterback. So let's say you want to carry 3 quarterbacks no matter what. That's it. Then you don't get the 48th guy. But let's say you carry 2 quarterbacks, you do your 47, you get the option of a 48th guy. So every team would do this, right? There's no need to not. You get the option of a 48th guy. That guy has to be a quarterback. And here's the kicker, and this is where I think you make it fair. If the 48th guy gets activated and has to play, the starting quarterback can no longer come in for the rest of the game.
Come back in the game.
Can't come back in at all.
You got me more intrigued with that last part. I wasn't feeling it at first, but I do like the risk. The risk where almost like baseball, where you subbing him out, you put this guy in the game, he's out.
The first guy's out. If he comes in for any reason, that guy's out. Because we can't have another San Francisco 49er situation.
Yeah.
Where
no
it's
longer virgin.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no longer virgin teams do carry 53, but then not all those 53 players are active on game days.
Yes, yeah. You can only dress
that's
47 guys on Sundays.
Yeah, I've never heard what the actual number is that you can have active, but that it's usually 6 guys or 7 guys who are declared inactive.
Yeah.
Because then you're promoting guys from the practice squad. It gets crazy like that. I will say this. Nothing makes football more unwatchable than stinky quarterback play.
Yep.
Nothing in the world. And as Jets fans, we know what we're speaking of here.
Yep.
You know, I told like a 49ers fan friend of mine, I said, now you know how it feels.
Yep.
And
so Quinnen said the same thing too.
Oh my God. I hope Sal and Douglas are on the phone with him saying, shut the F up, Quinnen.
Yeah, can't be doing that stuff.
You cannot be making that public. You can call them and say, hey, paying attention, man? Because you know Quinnen saying it, he's saying man in every other sentence, you know. Hey guys, if you want to have a good drinking game, watch a Quinnen Williams press conference. Every time he says man, take a shot. You'll be unconscious in 5 minutes. So I know I'm getting away from the question, but yeah, I'm in favor of this. I think there should be 3 quarterbacks. You should be able to activate 3 quarterbacks for a game if you choose to do that. And I do like the risk. If you put in that 3rd quarterback, then you have to designate 1 quarterback who cannot come back.
Yeah, he's out of the game.
Whether it's the starter or the
No.
Okay.
The starter
either
out of the game.
I'm thinking out loud as I'm going through this in my mind.
And no, because that's the rule that's being proposed. Apparently, that's the rule that San Francisco is going to propose at the owners' meeting in like June or whatever it is the 3rd QB rule. And the way that they're going to pitch it is that the first QB is gone. If the 3rd QB ever steps up, the first QB is gone for the rest of the game. He can go to the locker room, take his pads off, put sweats, and come back out. Doesn't matter if he's healthy at all. Doesn't matter. He's gone.
I'm game. I put it this way. I don't need if our backup quarterback were to get injured, I didn't want to have to think about Jeff Smith throwing passes
or Braxton Berrios or. Seems like almost...
I know, but Smith has some quarterback experience. He actually has quarterback.
Yeah, so does Braxton. Braxton was a quarterback before he was a wide receiver.
Oh, yeah, he was way back in the day. I think Smith was Berrios a quarterback in high school?
Yes.
I don't think he was in college.
Same thing with CJ Uzama, was a quarterback in high school.
Oh, you know what? I think I did hear that one time. Oh.
Yep.
So many intriguing options. But yeah, the one problem with it though, Tigo, is you only have so many competent quarterbacks out there.
Again, here's the thing. Anything Chris Streveler at quarterback is still better than Jeff Smith at quarterback, to put it in Jets terms, right? You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
boy.
Hackenberg at quarterback is still better than insert wide receiver who hasn't thrown a pass at an
Are we
NFL.
sure?
Yes, because at least he did it at an NFL level. You can call him out of the high school that's
Hackenberg
45
never threw a
minutes.
pass in the NFL.
He did in practice.
That's not the NFL. That's not a game. That's practice.
It's still better than what these wide receivers are doing. Look, okay, that might be a bit excessive, but like you get what I'm saying. The point that I'm trying to make is even the worst quarterback, NFL level quarterback who's a backup and on a practice squad, is still better than the guy who's running routes and not practicing the playbook. You know what I mean? That's the point.
Oh boy.
Does anyone know why in college football?
Curtis Martin was a better NFL quarterback than Christian Hackenberg, and I'm not exaggerating. Remember the halfback option to Corbett against Tampa Bay? So,
does anyone know
all I'm saying?
Why in college football the starting QB holds the ball on kicks? Because of trick plays. That's it. That's the whole thing. It's trick plays.
Because they can.
Yep. Yeah. Also, Stetson Bennett was barely a starter. They wanted to bench him in the middle of the year. It's insane how many times they wanted to bench Stetson Bennett. And it's also insane how he gained 10 years of age every time he threw a touchdown. By the end of it, he was 62 years old.
Yeah, Josh Johnson, Harlan Abraham, I agree. Josh Johnson, not a bad quarterback. When he was on the Jets, he came in through for 300 plus against the Colts. Absolutely true. If Johnson didn't get hurt, I think he could have kept San Francisco in that game.
I did not know this. Not that. Yeah. I didn't know Tannehill was a wide receiver. Did you know that?
I don't think I'd heard that one before.
That's cool.
Braden Mann is a better quarterback than Hackenberg. That is absolutely
That's actually true, yeah.
That is true. Based off that fake punt. That is completely correct. The two best plays Braden Mann had this season were a pass and an onside kick.
Yep. Honestly.
It's very, very bizarre, but that's the truth.
Kev Chatta, I'm gonna answer this. And
John Michael Schmitz.
I'm gonna answer this. Let me. I'm gonna pull up the roster because there's a couple of guys. I'm gonna pull up the roster.
All right. Yeah. You know what? I'll do the same.
The national team, the American team. Let's start with the national team.
All right. I'll go to the national team. All right. I got it now.
So for me, and then you can agree or disagree of guys that stood out as guys that the Jets should possibly look at targeting. For me, if we want to get a DB, and I've mentioned this earlier. In the conversation, the first one that pops out to me is Riley Moss, defensive back out of Iowa. He is a corner. He is a special teams guru, I think, at the next level. He has a lot of the raw skills to play at the next level pretty highly. And most importantly of all, he's the unicorn. He's the white cornerback that the NFL needs.
And we could use an upgraded special teams. We had a few good players, but it was really, to me, it was like Zerline, Hardy, Eccles, maybe Ashton Davis. But by and large, I felt our special teams was a disappointing part of our season. And when you have an offense that struggled as much as ours did, especially in the second half, you need not just defense to be really, really good, but special teams as well, and ours weren't.
The next DB, and again, this is a corner, so while not necessarily a super big need, he did impress me, is the corner out of Maryland, Jacorian Bennett. Bennett played himself into the second round. He played exceptionally well. He was fluid. He was quick. He kept his eyes on the wide receiver's hips the entire time. He was solid. And again, if we're looking at maybe trying to save money on a Justin Hardy, on a Bryce Hall, or something like that, these are the guys that can come in and immediately replace those guys. But it's really only in that situation. And then the last one is safety Ronnie Hickman out of Ohio State. I thought he did an excellent job, really helped solidify himself as a second or third round guy, could come in and immediately compete at the safety position, did a very, very, very good job. Moving on from the defensive backs to the defensive line. Go ahead.
Well, you didn't mention J.L. Skinner.
I didn't like Skinner.
Okay, I still think he's the second best safety prospect in this draft.
I don't look at him as a safety. I think he's going to get drafted and he's going to get converted to linebacker. He could be a hybrid guy, but I still like him. I like him as a linebacker. At 6'4", the size that he plays and the way that he plays, he would be an insanely good off-of-the-line linebacker. And I think that's what he's going to do at the next level. So I don't count J.L. Skinner as a safety because I don't think that's what he's going to play. At his size, 6'4" safeties in this NFL don't work. That's just the reality of it. So unless you're drafting a guy to like play the Kyle Hamilton role, which is like half the snaps a game and he's exclusively covering tight ends, and that's fine, I get it. But J.L. Skinner to me is a linebacker at the next level, and I was going to mention him in the linebackers. But since we're here early, that's who I look at, J.L. Skinner as a linebacker, which again, I don't think we're going to draft at all. He has that possibility.
All right.
Moving on to the defensive line on the national team. Let me look at these guys. Let me see if there's anybody that really stood out for me.
I'm not seeing a whole lot of names.
The Northwestern defensive linebacker. I'm gonna attempt this.
I'm not trying it.
Adetomiwa Adebawore.
Adebawore.
I know I got the last name wrong. It's Adebawore. Adetomiwa. Whatever. He played exceptionally well. He is a boomer bust kind of guy. He's either going to work at the NFL level or he's not. There's no middle ground with him. But he absolutely, if he's a guy that you're trying to take a shot at to replace Michael Clemens in the lineup, and I don't mean replace because what I mean is Carl Lawson is gone, so JJ steps up. Bryce Huff takes JJ's role. Clemens takes Huff's role. So if you're trying to replace what Clemens' role was, Adebawore is a guy that might be available in the 4th, 5th, or the 6th round that could come in. And again, he's boomer bust. He's
probably
either
one of those edge guys. Yeah, I think there's some GMs who subscribe to the theory that every year we're taking a quarterback because you never know. I think Joe Douglas subscribes to every year, and Robert Saleh, we're going to draft at least one edge player every year because we got to keep that pipeline going. We got to keep
same with the O-line. I wouldn't be surprised if we took one O-lineman and one defensive lineman every year.
That as well. Yeah. But because Saleh's so defensive oriented, I think it's that much more paramount on the edge.
Yep. And then the other one on the defensive line really stood out, played himself into the second round. He was looked at as like a 4th or a 5th, played himself into the second round. Keanu Benton out of Wisconsin. He played himself out of the position of being able to get drafted by the Jets. I'm furious because I loved Keanu Benton. He was a space-filling defensive tackle that also had a pass rush. He's everything that Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh dream about at night, and he played himself out of the possibility of the Jets getting him. But keep an eye on him. I really like me some Keanu Benton. And then that's really it. I know a lot of people are going to talk about Isaiah Foskey out of Notre Dame. I didn't like what he showed me at the Senior Bowl, so I'm good on that. Andre Carter played himself out of the second round, in my opinion. He's now a third-round edge, unfortunately.
I was disappointed with Carter as well.
Very. I wanted Army to get a first-round guy so badly, even though I hate Army as a school. I'm a Navy guy. I was in the Navy, right? But I wanted the military to get a guy into the NFL, and they couldn't get it done. No, they'll get it done. Andre Carter's going to get drafted. I wanted them to get a guy in the first round. He was the hope. He played himself out of a first-round place, unfortunately.
Yep, I agree. Yep, definitely agree with that.
Linebackers, I didn't get to watch a lot of the linebackers, but guys that I'm being told that really impressed, DeMarvion Overshown out of Texas, apparently, looked really good. Deion Henley out of Washington State apparently
That's the guy.
Really good.
Henley. Yep.
Virginia Military Institute long snapper Robert Soderholm. Didn't know that was a thing. Now let's move on.
Green Bean lives there. Green Bean lives right near Virginia Military Institute.
Yeah.
About 2.5 hours from there. So, yeah. So
let's do offensive line last. Let's go to the wide receivers and work our way up.
Wide receivers last? Okay.
No. We're going to go wide receivers now so we can do the O-line last.
That's what I'm doing. I'm with you. Wide receivers. I got it.
Ronnie Bell out of Michigan, disappointed, in my opinion. I didn't think he did very great. But one guy that on the national team that really, really, really stood out, BYU great Puka Nacua.
Yep, Puka Nacua.
Specialist.
Fun to say, isn't it?
Yeah, specialist. He is crisp. He runs the routes that you need. He does everything really, really well. He's a guy who still needs to develop his game. He can get jammed up at the line pretty easily, and he has a problem creating separation when he's not relying on his speed. Not speed, on his quickness. But if he can develop and like come in as a wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5, he has a lot of potential. I really like Puka Nacua. Definitely probably a day 2 pick now.
Did you hear anything about, I haven't heard this name too much, so if you have any thoughts, Trey Palmer out of Nebraska.
Did a great job, apparently. Really he was a day 3 guy, is possibly now a day 2 guy. Fantastic skill set, right? Just not complete. And he's a low ceiling guy. You know what I mean? He's a role player on your football team, but every team has that.
That's all right.
Every team has that.
That's all right.
Imagine Jeff Smith with, like, that's really it. Imagine Jeff Smith. Jeff Smith isn't a bad wide receiver, but he's also not a great wide receiver. And that's what Trey Palmer is. Trey Palmer is a Jeff Smith. He's not a good. He's not bad. That's what he is.
I don't know if I want to drive a Jeff Smith clone on day 2.
I'm not saying he's a clone. What I'm saying is when you think of wide receiver, that's who you're thinking of. He's wide receiver 5. He's the guy who's on special teams, maybe has 2 or 3 plays every once in a while, and that's it. And when he's on there,
wide receiver 5 on day 2. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but that's how I look at him. You don't draft him on day 2. He played himself. Some team might like him. I don't like him for that role, is what I'm saying. Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
But he's going to get taken day 2, and maybe a team can get me wrong. I haven't seen anything from the tight ends other than...
I mentioned Jaden Reed from Michigan earlier. I wanted to give him a quick shout-out. He's been getting very positive reviews as well. So
I don't personally remember him doing anything spectacular, but it was a lot of players, right? So that
I know Matt Zerline from NFL. He wrote some very positive things about Jaden Reed.
Oh, did he? Fantastic. Yeah. So there you go. I will say this: Purdue's Payne Durham tight end in the red zone drills was crucial, blocking edges. Like dominating edges in the run game, getting open in the red zone drills to get touchdowns and all that stuff. Fantastic ability out of him, and that's it. That's all I got from there. Running backs, there's only one name that really kind of stood out, and he's not on this side. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Rashawn Johnson out of Texas. He's getting overlooked by Bijan Robinson because Bijan Robinson is the best running back in the in the draft this year. That being said, Rashawn Johnson out of Texas, according to Dom and the clips that Dom sent me, looked like he was shot out of a cannon on every single play. Not for the Jets. We don't need a running back, but this is a good guy to keep in mind. I didn't watch anything for the quarterback, so I have no idea how Cunningham or Haener or Hall. Oh, Hall had a bad week.
Oh, Jaron Hall, yeah. No, he was throwing, from what we heard, Zach Wilson-esque swing passes.
Yeah,
ground balls. My theory is it must be the altitude over BYU. The ball just hangs in the air a little bit longer. But then when you get out to other parts of the country, all of a sudden they become spikes into the ground.
Yep.
It's the only thing I can think of at this point. It seems to be hereditary at BYU.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think Steve Young had that problem. I don't think Jim McMahon had that problem. But, as of late.
Yep. All right, let's go to the linebackers because punter plays kicker. I have no idea what's going on there.
Yeah, I know everybody wants us to talk punters, but we apologize.
Yeah. So let's start at the top here. Blake Freeland.
Here we go.
He fell. He's gone. He's out of the second round. He's a third-round guy. I know people were really, really in love with Blake Freeland, and they really, really wanted him out of BYU, and I was a fan of his. At the beginning of this process. Not anymore. He didn't look good, and this edge class that went to the Senior Bowl wasn't good, and he didn't look good against bad guys. So I'm really, really worried about him at the next level as an offensive lineman. Just being honest. Like, that's it. Jalen Duncan looks solid, but he's not a guy I think we're going to target. He's a really late round draft pick. Ryan Hayes really surprised me, really interested me out of Michigan as a developmental tackle. Think Max Mitchell kind of a thing, but not with my infatuation for Max Mitchell. I really like Ryan Hayes as a developmental tackle, a guy that maybe can be a backup swing tackle in 2 or 3 years' time. Olusegun Oluwatimi, great prospect. He needs time to develop. He's a little undersized. Think Max Mitchell, same thing. Also, There has to be something up with his motor, because it almost seemed like certain plays he just kind of took off, and he just didn't take the reps seriously. And then other plays he went hard as crap, and he was unstoppable. Like,
Don was very down on him, and when I heard that, it really, really alarmed me. And a position that I thought was not deep to begin with, all of a sudden became about as shallow as a kiddie pool.
Again, Olusegun-Oluwatimi, definitely a draftable guy, and I'm not mad if the New York Jets take him. But if we take him to be the starter, I'm upset. Like, if we don't bring back Connor McGovern and then you draft Olusegun-Oluwatimi, that's a problem. But if you bring back Connor McGovern and then you draft Olusegun-Oluwatimi, that's a great combo because he can learn, he can put on weight, he can get into an NFL locker room, he can do those things. Max Mitchell is this next guy. Cody Mock out of North Dakota State. He is my favorite offensive lineman not named Peter Skoronski in this draft. I love this kid. He is nasty. He is willing to do whatever he wants. He's got a solid anchor, great hands, strong, and the most important part, he played every position on the offensive line this week. They said, hey, can you play center? Yeah. Can you play left guard? Yeah. Can you play right guard? Yeah. Can you play any of the tackles? Yeah. Do you want to play tight end? Absolutely. He did everything.
And he plays with some nasty on him.
Yeah.
He finishes. He is a finisher. He mauls. I see a little bit of Trevor Penning? A little bit. I see that kind of edge from him. Just not the way I just see that in the way that he plays.
He plays nasty.
But he's got some nasty on him. And
not over the top, which was Trevor Penning's problem. He's over the top. Like he doesn't just finish blocks.
He's got more here.
Yeah, but Cody Mock is my new favorite. Jarrett Patterson didn't do him any favors by going to the Senior Bowl.
But by the way, if Cody Mock was like number 3, would we then call him Mock 3?
I hate you.
Thank you.
Jarrett Patterson didn't do any help for him going to the Senior Bowl. Like, it didn't help him at all, but it didn't hurt him either. He stayed as a 4th or a 5th round guy. Yes, I love Mock, Kev Chata. I love Mock. Jarrett Patterson, like I said, out of Notre Dame, we loved him last year, but he went back, played guard, didn't look that great, went to the Senior Bowl, didn't look that great. Like, it's not that he looked bad, he just didn't look great, and you'd expect him to dominate at a Senior Bowl like this, and he just didn't.
No, he didn't. And Rusty Spooner's still waving the flag for him. I mean, God bless Rusty for staying with him, but the stock has not gone up this. Like we said, there have been a number of guys who we thought were going to be draftable last year. They came back to school, but the level of their play, it didn't improve. It kind of plateaued. Yep. And that is not a good sign when you're plateauing your senior year.
Yep. Looking at another guard that's probably going to come out of Chattanooga. He's listed as a tackle, McClendon Curtis. He's more than likely. I skipped one on purpose. We're going to save him last.
Okay.
McClendon Curtis is a guy that's definitely, I think, going to play guard at the next level, and he can play at a pretty high level, that guard position. But he's going to be that guy that gets taken in the 4th or the 5th round and then starts just straight up because I think he's really good at guard. And then Asim Richards, developmental interior offensive lineman. Think Nate Herbig without the polish, kind of a thing. I think that's a good way to look at it. And then I don't remember seeing Troy Jake, the guy out of Troy, Jake Andrews, at all, or Joey Fisher, at all. And we left the best for last. This guy played himself into the 1st round. That's a real take. DeJuan Jones, tackle out of Ohio State. He played himself into the 1st round, bottom of the 1st round. I think him and one other guy who's on the American team, and we'll talk about him in a second, absolutely dominated. Had himself one hell of a day, was fantastic. They were phenomenal. Loved what he did. He played one day, and he played himself into the 1st round, the bottom of the 1st round, top of the 2nd.
6'8", 375 pounds, 2-time All-American. The Jets actually met with him. The Jets are one of the teams that Jones actually met with. They are doing their homework on him. The Jets have him on their radar. Jones could be working his way right into that top 4, along with the top 3 that people are talking about. Jones is working his way right up into the mix to the middle of that 1st round.
He is in that conversation of, we know that there's the top 3 guys, right? He's put himself in the conversation of, it used to be the top 3 guys, Anton Harrison, and then everybody else in that tier 2. Him and then one other tackle, we'll talk about him, he's on the American team, have played themselves into that tier 2. I also think Cody Mock has played himself into that tier 2. fantastic. And that is everybody worth a damn
Yeah.
on the national team.
Let's see. I got to get the American roster up here. What's going on?
Take your time.
All right.
If we trade down from 13 to early 20s, what O-linemen are best available there? Anton Harrison, DeJuan Jones, and then we're going to talk about, I'll mention him when we get to him.
I think I know who you mean, because I feel like there's one guy you haven't mentioned. It's that.
Yep.
Okay, I got the roster.
Yep. So, again, let's start on defense. A lot of really good guys on this side of the ball.
Oh, yeah.
On the national team.
The
American team. The American team was stacked, and they did a lot of really, really good things, in my opinion. Let's start. We're going to skip the Alabama kid. I didn't see anything spectacular out of him. DeMarco Hellmans.
DeMarco Hellmans, yeah.
I want this guy to be a Jet, this next guy. I want him as a Jet. I love his character. Dom C did an interview with this kid, and he was phenomenal. He's from my home state, not from my school, but I don't care about that. Florida State safety, Jamie Robinson. Jamie Robinson was everywhere on the Senior Bowl. He is, and I'm going to say this, the most complete safety prospect in this draft. Brian Branch is the best.
Yeah, Branch is the best, but Robinson, Robinson, I agree in terms of being well-rounded. Robinson is right there. You're right near that level.
Jamie Robinson can come in and he can play free safety or strong safety day one. Won't matter. Where, like, if you get Brian Branch, he's exclusively a free safety. If you get J.L. Skinner, he is exclusively a strong safety, probably a converted linebacker. If you get, I forget what the other guy out of Texas A&M, he is exclusively
Johnson.
He is Antonio Johnson. He is exclusively a free safety. Jamie Robinson is phenomenal at both free safety, strong safety. I hope the Jets stick at 43, and I hope Jamie is there, because I would love if Jamie was the pick at 43. Now, that is only in the scenario where we don't sign a safety and, like, we cut Will Parks and, like, we only have 3 safeties on the roster. Then I would love a Jamie Robinson. But there are also guys that are going to be available later that I'm in love with. But I love Jamie Robinson. He is a guy that I'm going to follow his career, because he played himself as a bottom day 2 guy to the top of day 2. He's going to be a second rounder, guaranteed. I love me some Jamie Robinson.
I think he's a day 2 pick. I'm not ready to say he's definitely in the second round. I think day 2, but I can still see him going in the third round. I still think that's
he's a top of the second. I don't see how he gets passed up on. He's the third safety on my board now. After Antonio Johnson, he's the third safety. Who's better?
I'm not saying what I think. I think the perception is there's a lot of safeties, and depending on what you want,
that's a good point.
It could go a number of different
That's actually a really good point. Yeah, you're not wrong. Another safety that did exceptionally well, a guy that I wasn't a big fan of. I didn't like him. I thought he got hyped up because of the school that he went to. Boy, was I wrong. Christopher Smith out of Georgia played exceptionally well. And the great thing about Christopher Smith is that he's a day 3 guy. He's a 4th, 5th round pick. Bottom of day, he's a day 3 kind of pick. That's where he gets projected, and he'll be available late. So you don't have to worry that if the Jets didn't take a safety in the second round, didn't take a safety in the third round, as long as Christopher Smith is on there, there's a good prospect that we can go out and get, like, really.
And I say 3rd to 4th round with Christopher Smith.
Yep.
I like, he can play center field. He's not the tallest safety in the world.
5'10".
But he's very smart, knows how to diagnose plays.
Oh, yeah.
He's sort of like that quarterback of the secondary.
Yeah, he did an exceptional job, and I thought it was a lot of hoopla. I thought it was a lot of smoke, because I didn't really see him much on that Georgia defense.
That's some coverage. Yeah, that's some coverage. You put it between Sauce and DJ. Woo! Yeah, that's going to be some coverage.
It's going to be hard to take the top off of us.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely love the idea. And Smith has been mocked in a bunch of drafts that we've done, like with Greenbeam, with Jeremy. Smith is like one of those targeted safeties, and I can tell you, it would be a draft pick well spent.
Yep. Another guy, he's a corner, played exceptionally well. I don't think he fits our style, is Julius Brents out of Kansas State. I hear nothing but good things about him coming out of the draft. Did fantastic. And then a guy that played himself into the first round, cornerback Tyreek Stevenson, corner out of Miami. He has played exceptionally well. And he's played himself in probably the bottom of the first round. And then my favorite DB, straight up, in this draft, This is the guy that I'm going to pound the table for. This is the guy that I'm going to fall in love with. This is my new favorite player for this draft. I love this kid. I would love it if the Jets took him late. He's a 5th or a 6th round pick, and I think that is insanely good value. South Carolina cornerback Darius Rush. The kid has all of the tools to be a really, really good corner. And I think, and I look at him, Michael Carter II backup for starts, and he is absolutely phenomenal. I love me some Darius Rush. Outside of that, not very many other DBs that I care about. Anyone that I skipped since you left because I went from Bentz straight to Rush.
Wait a minute.
I talked Stevenson. Who?
Wait, is Anthony? No, I'm thinking about a different safety. I was Anthony Johnson. I was thinking a different player. Nobody else. I have heard some good things about who's this guy. Rezjon Wright from Oregon State seems to be pretty.
Oh yes, he did a lot of really good things at corner.
Yeah, let's talk about Wright.
Yeah, Wright. Again, I don't know too much about Wright, but I do know that a lot of people did rave about Wright as a possible good corner.
Hard hitter. It's loves to hit.
Oh yeah, I remember there was this one play where he blew up the run. He gave up his assignment early, which I wasn't a fan of, but he called it right. But he gave up his assignment early, blew into the middle of the field, and just took the running back's head off. Phenomenal there. But let's go on to the D-line. Right. 2 Alabama defensive line here, both of them disappointing. Both of them. Byron Young and DJ Dale, not a fan of either one of them.
DJ Dale got posterized by John Michael Schmitz. That's what he's going to be most remembered for from this week.
Yep. And then Byron Young just didn't have the strength or the speed to get the job done. Inside, outside, like he wasn't beating these tackles at all. It was disappointing, if I'm being honest. Ali Gay, again, also disappointing. I really liked the idea of Ali Gay because he would be available in the 5th or the 6th and all that stuff. Disappointing. Isaiah McGuire, another guy I had high hopes for as a 3rd or a 4th round edge. Disappointing. A guy that surprised me, another South Carolinaite, Zach Pickens. No idea if he's related to the other Pickens in Pittsburgh. George Pickens.
He's George's brother?
I have no idea.
A cousin or something?
I have no idea. I have no idea if they're related. It would make sense.
Oh, you don't know? I thought you said they were.
Oh, no. I have no idea. But he surprised me. He did very, very well. And then here's where everyone's going to get confused. Ready? Byron Young, he's back. But from Tennessee.
Byron Young.
But from Tennessee, and I liked the Tennessee Byron Young. He did a lot of really good things. Developmental guy. I don't know about the linebackers. I heard good things about Dorian Williams.
Yeah, Dorian Williams. Oh, yeah, that's like Dom's guy right there.
Yeah, Servassier Dennis.
Yeah, I mean, so well-spoken. I mean, really seems to have a good head on his shoulders. Yeah, that's like a linebacker you could get late. He's sort of like, not that they're the same kind of player, but we're talking like a Darian Beavers kind of guy, a linebacker you could get late that you could develop. And Dorian Williams seems like he could be that kind of a guy. That could be a late linebacker target. Servassier. It's just a great name, isn't it?
Yeah. Servassier Dennis actually really surprised me. A buddy of mine is a big Pitt Panthers fan, and he was like, dude, you got to watch this guy at the Senior Bowl because he knows I have a channel. He's a Steelers fan. He's a Pitt fan. And he was telling me, he's like, you got to watch this guy. He's pretty good. I'm gonna talk about it because this is the school that I currently go to. I am a UCF Knight, and we represented at the Senior Bowl. Let's go, long snapper Alex Ward. Skip O-line. Let's go to wide receiver like we did last time, and then work our way up.
Virginia Military Institute or just some principal. Go to the bottom. Go to wide receivers.
Yep. And so let's talk wide receivers. Darius Davis. Didn't hear anything about him. Skip this next guy.
I didn't even know him.
The Houston one?
I didn't know Darius Davis.
Oh, no. We're skipping Houston.
Okay.
Go straight to Xavier Hutchinson. Disappointing.
Yep.
Played himself out of the 2nd round. For real. Probably a 3rd round pick now. Honestly disappointing. Jonathan Mingo impressed. He didn't change his draft stock at all. But he just looked good. He looks like an Ole Miss wide receiver. Like, that's the thing. And, like, they're just all good.
Elijah Moore is an example, by the way.
So is A.J. Brown and DK Metcalf. Right?
One of those. What the hell?
Jonathan Mingo, like, again, he fits that mold. He doesn't have those guys as skill sets. He doesn't even have those guys as ceilings. But he did pretty well. Rashee Rice, disappointing.
Yeah, that was one of the more surprising ones. I had pretty high hopes for him.
He fell so hard he might not be a day 2 pick anymore. I think he's still a day 2 pick. I still think he gets taken in the 3rd, but he was abysmal.
He really, that may have been the biggest disappointment. One of the 2 or 3 biggest disappointments I think of the whole week was Rashee Rice.
And then Jalen.
It was not success Rice. Let's put it that way.
No, it wasn't. No. And then Jalen Wayne and Dontavian Wicks. I know nothing about those guys because I don't remember seeing them. So do you have any comments on either one of these guys?
No. Even if I did, I wouldn't give any because I know there's another wide receiver that you want to talk about.
There's 2 other wide receivers that I want to talk about.
Just get to the one from Princeton already. I know you need to wax poetic.
The Princeton one, I love this kid. Fell in love with this kid. Andrei Yoshivas is how his last name is pronounced.
Yoshivas.
No. It's just Yoshivas.
Yoshivas?
Yes, the L is a Y for some reason, and so it's Yoshivas. Think Yoshi, and then Vas. That's it. So he's a project wide receiver, but he runs a sub 4.3 40. He's going to beat the 40-yard dash record at the combine. He's insane. He's got all of the skill sets. 6'3", 207, and still runs a sub 4.3 40. Love this guy. Didn't know this. Rico the Pup, Dontavian Wicks got freaky stats. A 6'1" guy with a 6'8" wingspan. That's insane. It's pretty good. And then a guy that played himself into the bottom of the 1st round, top of the 2nd round, Houston's Nathaniel Dell. Tank Dell. The guy is insane. He's small, 5'10", 155 pounds. I worry about his size, but he showed us at the Senior Bowl that he doesn't get jammed up at the line easy, and if you line him up at the slot or the Z, he is going to just dice you up. He is a route running savant. He's got great strong hands. He doesn't drop the ball. When he catches it, his hands are like vice grips. He can't push it out. Nathaniel Dell, honestly, surprised everybody and came up and played exceptionally well. Yep. Rico the Pup said it perfectly. Ooh, that dude looked like he was dipped in Crisco. I'm gonna put his thing up. Looked like he was dipped in Crisco before taking the field. Tank Dell is as slippery as they come. Absolutely. He is one of those guys that he gets open and stays open because you literally can't get your hands on him. He's that slippery. Phenomenal. Loved this guy.
Houston.
And then let's go to tight ends. I think the only one that's worth talking about is Luke Musgrave out of Oregon State.
Luke Musgrave. Yeah, that's about the only one.
Played himself back into that conversation of being one of the best tight ends in the at the combine really, really well. I have no idea about any of these other tight ends, and honestly, I don't have any idea about any of these running backs.
Do you know anything? I'm paying no. Well, Kenny McIntosh is thought of pretty well, but I think he got hurt during the course of the week.
Oh yeah, I think I heard that too. I don't know if it's him, but I know some player got hurt.
It was McIntosh. It was definitely McIntosh.
That's too bad.
Yeah, I don't know how serious it is, but but there's certain positions I got to be honest. I'm just not paying as much attention to.
Me neither,
because we don't need to.
Nope. I'm skipping the quarterbacks because I have no idea. Skipping the punters and the place kicker because, again, I have no idea.
If you want to draft Clayton Tune with a late round pick, with a 5th or 6th round pick, fine. If you want to draft some developmental guy, fine.
Nah, I think that's a waste of a pick, especially with how good and deep this draft is.
Who knows?
And then let's go to the offensive linemen. We're going to go top to bottom because the guy I want to talk to is on the bottom. So both of the Alabama guys, Emil Ekiyor Jr. and Tyler Steen, did not have good showings. Tyler Steen showed potential, but he's not a great pick. He is a guy that if you take you take him if you draft, if you bring back Connor McGovern. He's a developmental guy, needs to put on weight, needs to fix his technique. He's a center guard. Doesn't have a great anchor. But I don't hate his hands and his technique. He's just not strong enough for the NFL game, in my opinion. And then Ekiyor was invisible. Didn't see him.
I didn't hear about him either.
Yep. Same goes with the Florida offensive lineman, Richard Guraige.
We had 2 Alabama guys and then 2 Florida guys.
And one of the Florida guys annihilated, and we'll get to him in a second. But Richard Guraige, I don't remember seeing him take any snaps. I was paying attention.
Garage.
Yep.
I'll just call him Richard Garage.
Yeah,
and,
I can see it.
The door may have closed on him. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Because, again, I was trying to pay attention to the offensive linemen. But not that great. But Osiris Torrance played himself and solidified himself as the best interior offensive lineman in this draft. Hands down. He will be a first-round pick. We're going to have to see Osiris Torrance 2 times a year because he will, in my opinion, be a Buffalo Bill. This kid is insanely good, insanely athletic, and he can play the position really, really well. He is going to be a first-round pick. And here comes... Go ahead.
I definitely think the best guard. But as far as the best interior offensive lineman, it's either him or this next guy.
Then I think it's Osiris Torrance, hands down, is the best interior offensive lineman. But that shouldn't take away from my love for Minnesota's one and only fantastic center, John Michael Schmitz. Phenomenal. Take him in the second round. If he's there in the second round and you're there in the second round and you haven't signed McGovern, you go get him.
Tigo? Come on.
You go get him.
Bust out your catchphrase. What do you do? What do you do if he's there?
You sprint to the podium.
Yes,
You sprint to the podium. Like, here, I even would consider trading back into the bottom end of the first round to get Michael Schmitz at 31 so that you get the 5th-year option on him. He is that good. He is not as good as Osiris Torrance, but, in my opinion, but he's phenomenal. He fits our scheme. He fits our play. The guy's got an anchor. He's got hands, and I loved it. He showed some nasty at the Senior Bowl, man.
He's so much the best center compared to anybody else.
Much.
It's not close.
It's funny because not only is he so much the best center, he's still the second best interior offensive lineman. When has that ever been the case?
So rare. Oh my gosh, so rarely. So rare. I mean, last year, I'm trying to think of the offensive linemen who were drafted last year, like around Linderbaum, because Linderbaum was fine, was more than confident last year, but I don't know if he was the second best offensive lineman. But yeah, Torrance and Schmitz, man, the Jets could come away. I don't know if they would actually draft Torrance,
no, I don't think so.
I don't think that'd be a situation.
If they do, that's because
unless
they're
they trade
saying,
it down. If they trade it down, you can make the argument, and then you're definitely putting AVT at tackle.
Yeah,
and now you've got an offensive line you can fill. Ooh,
imagine if you go Makai, Lakin, JMS, Osiris Torrance, AVT. I'm buying my tickets to the Super Bowl. I'm buying my tickets to the Super Bowl.
We ain't getting Torrance and Schmitz.
Imagine. Dude, I think we go double offensive line, first and second round, if we don't take a center.
That's why they have. Yeah, that's why they still make Madden. But
dude, if we don't sign McGovern, you're not telling me we don't take John Michael Schmitz in the second? We don't trade up for him?
No. If Schmitz is available there at 43, all over it.
No, I'm saying you trade up. I think you trade up. I think you go up to the Pittsburgh pick at 32.
Yeah, because we only got so many picks this year. So.
But I'm saying if you trade back at 13, let's say, all right, here's the story, right? Peter Skronski's gone. Brian Branch is gone, which are both realistic.
I would agree.
Aaron Rodgers, we got Derek Carr, so we didn't even give up a pick in this situation,
that.
right? We didn't give up a pick. So we have our first and our second. You trade 13 down. So now you go from 13, let's say, who's it? I got to pull up I don't know the draft order yet. So give me 2 seconds.
No, I'll help you out.
I'm pulling it up right now.
What are you looking for?
I'm just looking for the late. Minnesota wants to come up. They want to take a not Minnesota.
I got the order right here.
I'm trying to find a team who's picking in the late 20s that needs the Giants want to come up. The Giants want to come up to get a wide receiver. They want to get the first wide receiver off the board. Right? They're at 25. They want the first wide receiver. They want to go get Quentin Johnson because they want to pick a wide receiver in front of the Patriots. So now you've picked up next year's first from them, 25, and this year's second round pick. So now you got 2 seconds, and you're at 25. All of the picks happen. Osiris Torrance is on the board. You're 2 picks in front of the Buffalo Bills, and you know that Elijah Vera Tucker at this point in time is going to play tackle. And you take Osiris Torrance.
And I was thinking Jacksonville at 25 might be possible because
DJ
Chark is a free agent, but keep in mind, Calvin Ridley is going to be on the roster this year.
But they're also a target for Osiris Torrance because they need the interior offensive line. they could take him. But let's say he's there. So you take Torrance. He's the best offensive lineman. And I heard your comment, Pico. I was Rico the Pup. I was going to bring it up. His weight doesn't concern me. I don't think the weight issue is that big of a problem. I think people have overblown it with the Mekhi Becton situation. Mekhi Becton did not get hurt because of his weight. Mekhi Becton got hurt because Connor McDermott is a piece of
rolled up on
garbage.
His freaking leg.
Not McDermott, right? No, it was McDermott. Who rolled up on him?
Connor.
One of the Connors rolled up on him, and he's a piece of garbage. And then his knee never healed quickly enough, and then he hurt it again because of JFM being that good. Has nothing to do with his weight, so I'm not worried. So then you take Osiris Torrance. So now it's the second round. You got 2 picks, and you call Pittsburgh, and you say, we'll give you 2 seconds this year to come up to 32. And they do it, and you take JMS. I'm just saying, it's a possibility. Greg Van Roten, thank you, Hank. Hank,
it was Van Roten.
It was Van Roten. Hank got it.
Greg Van Mangold himself.
I'm just saying, that's not an unrealistic situation. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not talking out of my... I am, but I'm not like 100% just talking out of my ass there. That's a realistic way that the things play out. So, again, I'm really in love with Torrance and John Michael Schmitz. I would take both of these guys. Going back to the...
I don't know what team wouldn't, but that's besides...
No, absolutely, right? Going back to the thing so we can end the stream really quickly. Wanya Morris, Nick Saldivieri, Nick Broker, all played, didn't really impress. Just straight up.
Broker was not good. And I want Saldivieri to be good because he went to Old Dominion. My friends and I, we have Old Dominion tickets, so I want all the ODU guys. That's why I'm rooting for Zach Kuntz at tight end really hard. But that's another story. Steve Avila. Oh, there he is.
We're going to talk about him next. Steve Avila out of TCU. Definitely one of the better guards in this draft. Probably the 3rd or the 4th best interior offensive lineman in this draft. Exceptional play from this kid. Phenomenal motor. Phenomenal skill set. The guy was killer. Killer. Love this kid. He did great things. Cannot say anything but good things about Steve Avila.
No, most definitely. Good head on his shoulders, and he seems to have a little bit of versatility. They're trying him at guard, center. It looks like he can play a number of spots, and his stock is absolutely on the rise.
Yep.
Whoever gets him, they're going to be happy with that draft pick.
Absolutely. I wanted to address this really quickly. No way I trade up. If Linderbaum was picked 64, John Michael Schmitz can wait till our 2nd-round pick. I don't think Linderbaum was picked 64.
Linderbaum was picked at the end of the 1st round by Baltimore.
Yeah.
I'd say no. Linderbaum was picked right before Jermaine Johnson. He was 25.
Yeah.
Right before JJ was Linderbaum.
Yeah.
I remember it.
He wasn't picked 64.
25.
Are you talking about Are you trying to talk about the kid that went to Kansas City that we all fell in love with like 3 years ago?
Reed Humphrey.
Are you talking about Humphrey? Humphrey's a different situation. Humphrey fell for no good reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And teams have learned not to make that mistake.
Yeah, because Creed was taken at 64. And here's the thing. One, I think JMS is better than Linderbaum because he doesn't have size concern or length concerns.
Yep. I like it.
And I think he's better than Creed Humphrey. Yeah, Tyler went 25 to the Ravens. So, Kev, I need you to tell me who you're talking about.
It's all good, Kev. All right, and there's there's at least one more offensive lineman who we definitely need to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. We're waiting on him. The next guy I wanted to talk about actually surprised me, Warren McClendon Jr. out of Georgia. He was interesting. He's like a cool independent, not independent. He's a cool developmental guy. If we didn't have such a desperate need at tackle, I would love to take a guy like a Warren McClendon as a tackle for practice squad tackle in the late rounds as a developmental guy. I really liked him. I really liked what he showed. He's got a lot of bad stuff, but like that's just it. It's interesting. And then a guy that I'm totally out on, Matthew Bergeron out of Syracuse, did not have a good.
Let me go back to McClendon really quick. When you say he has a lot of bad stuff, what are you referring to?
Like techniques, like things that can be fixed.
Things that have to be polished up. So you have
exactly.
You have a raw piece of clay that needs to be molded.
Yeah, look, so like Max. Okay. When Max was coming out, he had this issue of where like he would put his weight over his toes. which you don't want to do as a tackle, right? You want to keep
Mhm.
you want to keep your weight and your toes in a straight line because of the whole punch and
You
the
don't want
grab.
you don't want to be too forward. You want to have balance. So
Exactly.
footwork. Every time I hear that an offensive line prospect doesn't have, if he has good footwork, I'm like, okay, that's something we can work with.
Yep.
Because balance, footwork, that if you don't have that, you cannot succeed as a lineman.
And then the other thing that he has a tendency to do is he tends to give up with the narrow too quickly. Because he's so strong that he just goes, oh, I didn't win, so he'll just go over and go to the outside, and so he'll get called on holding because of that, because he'll put his arm over and he'll, like, grab a wide stance, and the moment you're like this as an offensive lineman, you're going to get screwed. But we got to talk about this guy. Also probably played himself into the first round. Offensive tackle out of Tennessee, Darnell Wright. Talk about him. I need a pee. I'll be back in 30 seconds.
I didn't know you were going to make me do that. All right. Well, the best I can tell you with Wright for the attention that I've been trying to give him, definitely a leader of that Tennessee offense. Now, not looked as being quite as polished as one of the top 3 or 4 linemen. I still think this is a player you could probably get maybe. I think he'll probably be a second round pick, most likely, would Wright be, but. Definitely has a good attitude. Definitely seems to be tough, very aggressive, and has been very durable as from what I can tell as well. So, yeah, Darnell Wright. I can't say he would be my first choice, but that is one good thing about this situation. Even if the Jets were to not get an offensive lineman at 13, or if they were to trade down, there's definitely a situation where they could get a really, really good starter, even in the second round, because tackle is really one of the best depth positions in this draft. So I kind of gave a feel for where I see Wright going and some of his kind of where he ranks overall in the class. But I wanted to leave it up to you to break down some of the specifics and why you're such a fan of this.
It's the whole skill set. One, he plays nasty. He's got some Trevor Penning in him. Like that's a closer relation to Trevor Penning is Darnell Wright. He's also a mammoth of a human being. He's huge. Like not DeJuan Jones huge, where like you're maybe concerned about the weight and the size, that kind of thing. Darnell Wright is the perfect combo of size and strength. 6'6", 335. Like he's NFL weight. Really, really long arms. But the real thing that I loved about him was his anchor. A lot of these guys at the Senior Bowl, one of the things that I was really, really worried about was their anchors. What happens when they get bull rushed? In the NFL, the thing that wins you the most as a pass rusher is your bull rush. Having a good spin move and a good swim move and a good stop and go and all is great. But the thing that wins you the most in the NFL is the bull rush. And Darnell Wright had a solid anchor, great, and carried guys around the quarterback and all of those things. Look, is he a polished prospect? No. But here's the thing. If you were to tell Elijah Vera Tucker you are going to play guard, Darnell Wright comes in and immediately starts at right tackle. He has played himself, in my opinion, into the bottom end of the first round, top of the second round. If 5 tackles go in the first round, Darnell Wright is the 4th or the 5th tackle, interchangeably with DeJuan Jones.
Played as a senior, played 829 snaps, allowed 5 quarterback hurries.
Yep.
Not sacks, not hits, hurries.
Yep.
2 quarterback hits and no sacks. And that's playing against the SEC. So he's played good competition. So that's one thing that you can have confidence in.
Like, if he comes in, he can play at the position. And then the rep, they talked about it. I think someone mentioned it here. Darnell Wright, he had a rep where he made Isaiah Foskey out of Notre Dame, who's a guy that a lot of people are high on as a 2nd or 3rd round edge, made him look like a toddler. Just grabbed him and stopped him. Just like with no effort. Darnell Wright and DeJuan Jones were men amongst toddlers at the Senior Bowl.
And that's one reason why we don't have to be married, I think, to a tackle with our first pick.
Absolutely not. That's why I am in favor of trading back.
Yeah, it is not a situation where if we don't get an offensive tackle at 13, Joe Douglas has screwed the draft up. So like I said earlier, let's not get too married to one position with our first pick.
And Wild Wave asks the perfect question here. Is the O-line really urgent in the first round since everyone is coming back healthy? No.
I
No.
like that you use the word since, Wild Wave, as opposed to if. Since everybody is coming back. Like, we know Becton and Mitchell are going to be okay. I'm confident in AVT. I don't know if Dwayne Brown's still going to be here, but let's pray that we can all have that level of confidence in this offensive line being healthy. And who's ours again? Is McGovern coming back? That's still a very big question. Is Herbig coming back? Also a big question.
Dan Feeney's a free agent. Like, we lose a lot of these guys on the offensive line. Now, the real thing is we can bring those guys back. They're going to be cheap, right? So that's a thing. And this is a great one by Rico the Pup. Darnell Wright looked like a dad sitting his unruly kids down in some of those reps. And that's true.
Ooh.
That's absolutely true. These are supposed to be NFL talents. You know,
laying him right across his knee and
just boom. Like, and it's phenomenal.
Becton, I'm sorry. You want Becton to be there, but you know, Becton is a wild card. You have to act as if whatever you get from him is a bonus, but you cannot rely on him going into this offseason. I know he's lost weight. I know his face looks different. I am very happy about that. But he has to prove it this year. Here's the thing: this is his fourth year.
Yep.
They got to decide on his option, and I'll tell you what: there's no way they're picking up that fifth-year option. I got to be honest with you. My thing is, no matter what happens, I would be surprised to see Becton on the team in more than a year.
No, he's back.
I don't know.
believe in Becton. I think Becton's a top 10 tackle.
Because he could play like too well to where he plays himself off the team, or it could be so bad that he's still injured and they just let him go. I'm wondering what the best case scenario is for Becton. So, to me, I want to get a tackle with one of my first 2 picks.
If you're Becton, the thing that you want is you want them not to take your fifth-year option. Mm-hmm. You want to go out and play. You want to play your ass off. You want to get franchise tagged. So that you can, 1, get paid well, and 2, because he's going to be a top tackle in the league. If he's healthy, Becton is a top 10 tackle in the league. That's a fact. And so he's not going to take a 1-year deal. He's going to want to get franchise tagged, so he's going to get franchise tagged. He's not going to get the exclusive franchise tag. He's going to get the non-exclusive franchise tag. I don't think anyone's going to go pay for that. And here's why he wants to get tagged, because you can only get tagged a certain amount of times in your career.
Right.
And if you can get franchise tagged early in your career, it only helps you out in the long run. Mekhi Becton is going to make a lot of money in this league. It is a matter of whether or not he can stay healthy. And because neither one of his injuries were his fault, like they weren't things that I look at and I attribute. Rico the Pup, thank you for subscribing. Because I don't look at them as either one of these injuries as like a bad, like, oh my gosh, his weight is bad. His like, this is why he got hurt. No, he got rolled up on by Van Roten, by GVR is one of the things. And Box, it's not that crazy. In year 1, when he was a top 10 tackle in the NFL in his rookie year.
There are still certain players he was having issues with. He had his battles with certain players, but he was shutting down certain top.
Made Nick Bosa look like a child.
Oh my God, he beat the crap out of Bosa. He and Myles Garrett had some battles.
Oh, those were so good. He lost most of those, but Myles Garrett is also a defensive player of the year.
Myles Garrett makes almost anybody look like a fool. But that was him as a rookie.
I don't think Garrett's won. Never mind. Myles Garrett hasn't won defensive player of the year, right?
No.
He's a future defensive player of the year. He's going to win it eventually. Like, it's still, like you're talking about, he took on some of the most elite edge rushers. And even though he lost some of those reps, like, yeah, that's what elite players do. Like, they lose some reps. And so, yeah, I think he can play that highly, especially since we're going into more of a run game. He's not going to have to put all that weight back on his legs. He's going to be pushing forward more. So I think that's fantastic. Guys, we've been live for 3 hours and 15 minutes.
He told me it was going to be an hour, dude.
I did. I thought it was going to be an hour.
I get overtime for this. You know that, right? Yeah, by the way, Defensive Player of the Year, it's pretty much always either a Watt or it's Aaron Donald.
Yep.
You have a rare exception with a Stephon Gilmore or Khalil Mack, but no, I don't think the Cleveland Browns actually ever won that award. Yeah, never has. Yeah, Defensive Player of the Year was only introduced in 1971. Hey, you know what? That's something the Jets have never won. is Defensive Player of the Year. In the next couple of years, it is. Yeah, Revis couldn't even get that either, which is pretty embarrassing. But
if Sauce doesn't get a vote, it's rigged.
Oh.
He should get a vote. One vote. He was the best corner in football.
Quinnen should get a little of it. Yeah, Sauce more so. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, 3 hours and 15 minutes, and we thought
we're close to 3:20. Guys, we're going to end the stream here. Guys, thank you everybody who stopped by. Thank you everybody who subscribed. Harlan Abraham is absolutely right here. I am 70 subscribers away from 2,000 subs. If you haven't hit the sub button and you're in here, hit the sub button. Let's get there. If you want to see the little dancing dinosaur, that's a way to do it. Adam, Y2K of New York Sports Wicker Media. I don't remember.
It's on the screen, dude.
No, it isn't. It isn't. It doesn't show up
on
my end. It is in the description. So go into the description. His link is there. It is there. Yes, it's there. I put it there.
Awesome.
Go hit the subscribe button.
I am 61 subscribers away from 500.
Come on, guys. Come on.
It's okay.
There's 32 of you in here. Go hit the subscribe button.
Come on. No, not only will you get Jets content, but we talk about other things. We talk Mets. We talk Rangers. I've done a Yankees video here and there. Done a Giants video here and there. The Knicks annoy me too much to even do a video. When things go wrong with the Nets, I'll talk about that, which reminds me I should do something on Kyrie. Although the Nets did have a very good rally tonight against Washington, so I'll give them credit for that. But the big thing I'm doing right now is prospect profiles on the New York Mets. So I've done 7 of those already. I'm recording another one tomorrow morning on one of them, the second-rated pitching prospect, who actually now is probably going to be the first, since their top pitching prospect needs another friggin' UCL realignment surgery, and he's out for another year and a half. So I'm going to be doing a little more Mets stuff. I will be working on some free agent stuff. I'll be working on that this weekend. I expect to be releasing that over the course of the week. So even though it's the off season and a lot of people are talking draft, I do want to talk some free agency and maybe some possible targets that the Jets could go after. So, hey, Tigo and I both appreciate your support very, very much. And you know where to find him because you're here, and you can find me at NY Sports Wicker Media.
Guys, thank you so much for hanging out. If you haven't hit the like button, hit the like button. We're at 56 likes. Would love to see 4 more likes before we end the stream. Thank you so much for hanging out. Hey, make sure to hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we do these random streams. This is supposed to be an hour stream, and you got 3 hours of us just BSing and talking Jets. It was a great time. Thank you so much for hanging out. Remember, I go live every Friday at 10 o'clock, and we're going to start bringing guests on and doing all that stuff. Guys, this offseason is going to be incredibly fun. It's going to be one of the best off seasons in New York Jets history, because this is the off season where I think we really truly get to relevancy, because we're going to get Derek Carr or Aaron Rodgers, and I'm just manifesting my destiny with that one. Thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you so much for hitting the like button. And last but not least, go Jets.